Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of the Rewatch Podcast, presented by the Terrible Video Gamers Club. I'm your host, Tyler Schatz, here with me Familia to record one podcast episode. Joining me is one Stephen Howard.
Fresh out of a fire drill.
Amanda Howard.
I'm not negative. I'm just positive we're going to screw it up.
Good one. One Nick Castillo.
Oh, I was just curious. Did you, touch that ass or smack it?
And last, but never ever least, Gary Delaney.
I know that if the podcast ever goes international, I'm going to need two things. A translator, and for you to stay the fuck out of my way.
Wow, Gary.
Gary the Rock Delaney.
And Gary, that is why we let you go last.
I did actually have a note, since this is PG-13, because we talked about that last time, you're allowed one F word. And I was kind of thinking about, right as he came in, I was like, I wonder where that drops in. And then he said it. I was like, that's perfect.
Yep.
Justin Lin talked about that he makes a specific point to use that one fuck in an appropriate place, and he determined that was the place.
In an appropriate place.
All right, so in case you cannot tell, listening audience, we are here to discuss the fifth movie in the Fast and Furious franchise, titled Fast Five. Dominic Toretto and
Or as
his
I
crew...
call it, Five Fast, Five Furious.
Thank you, Gary, for that lame joke.
What?
Gary's making a lame joke reference here to the Too Fast, Too Furious movie.
I understood that.
At least he doesn't do 3 Fast, 3 Furious, and 4 Fast, 4 Furious.
I did call them Four Fast, Four Furious.
Oh, no.
I'm just
Do
disappointed.
you call the first one then One Fast, One Furious? I'm confused.
Yeah, is everything built around your Too Fast, Too Furious timeline here?
Yes, because you start at the top, the cream of the crop, the cream on the top, and then you just, everything works down from there.
Maybe this lets him put in little in between short videos too. That it can be 2 Fast, 3 Furious, and that's how you know where it goes.
Yeah.
Gary, I'm sorry. Trickle down creamonomics does not work.
Messing with the sacred timeline.
Anyways, here, Dominic Toretto and his crew of street racers plan a massive heist to buy their freedom while in the sights of a powerful Brazilian drug lord and a dangerous federal agent. And let's see here, what was the movie's earnings here? So, rough budget estimate of $125 million. Opening weekend in the US and Canada was $86 million. The gross in the US and Canada was $209 million, and the gross worldwide was $626 million. So it definitely made its money back for the series.
How did that compare to the previous movie?
That's a great question. I should probably just put this in a spreadsheet somewhere so we can actually learn about this stuff when we're talking about them.
I want to know what.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just the a-hole who, after you give us a lot of information, was like, I actually want more information. Can you break that down?
Wait, and you make fun of me for playing spreadsheet games, and you want all of this sort of stuff?
I was going to say, Tyler, can you put that into an overall earnings per quarter and you let us know what that was?
All right, I'll come up with some charts and graphs here. I'll
Can I get a year-over-year comparison for Fast and the Furious franchise earnings over the last 10 years?
Okay, I'll work on that. I'll do it over the last 10 movies, though, because I don't know how much they earned after they leave the movie theaters there. It might be kind of hard.
You could just cross-reference when the release dates were. I mean, do your math, man. Don't be a slouch about it.
All right, anyways, gonna bore the people of our podcast to death here talking about spreadsheets and numbers.
Hey, don't insult our listeners like that. They are educated savants.
What are you talking about? Our
Exactly.
one listener is a car person who knows about computer sticky keys and loves NOS. That's the one magical
My time
listener
to
we have out
shine.
there.
I thought we discussed earlier our number one viewer may or may not be a woman.
That's
Oh,
true.
that's right.
We do have now Nick wasn't here for this. We have a female presence apparently listening to the podcast at some point in time.
Nice.
Which, by the way, dear listener, I say listener, apparently what is it? Spotify can apparently track what gender you are somehow, some way. So you should look into that. That's a weird thing, and apparently we just found that out today.
The internet has enough of my
teaching
data
us about
anyways.
Tyler's teaching us how much tracking information is out there for people to know.
I'm not so I understand that our data is out there. I think a little strange that a random podcast could find out that it's a female listener. That's a weird thing.
Well, it's all from the Spotify
Yeah, fair.
service there that we upload to.
That's fair.
So we got to know our target audience here, Steven. So maybe we
Nas
need
drinking, sticky key loving,
car guy. Yeah.
history hating. I don't know whether they hate or they love history. It depends. They hate to love history.
Or maybe we just need to work on the
Steven or Team
female
Gary.
demographic so that we can get 2 listeners. One, that mysterious male podcast listener, and then we'll have this female podcast listener. We'll have to somehow appeal to her too.
I thought that's why we had Gary here.
God, no. Gary's not even going to say anything either here.
No.
I understand that I bring the sex appeal. I understand that. I just didn't feel like it needed to be said out loud.
Gary's trying to bring sexy back.
Yep.
Ah, damn it! I came off mute to say yeah, and Steven beat me to it. Anyway, we should probably get going because we're
Yes.
talking about statistics and revenues and
Yes, we have a 2-hour movie to get through here. So this movie picks up right from where the last one ended there with Dom on the
It's
bus there going to
overlapped.
prison. Yep. And the crew coming to bust him out of there. And somehow everyone on the
In the-
bus survives.
Oh my
say,
god,
there's-
this was the dumbest way possible to break someone out. I am sitting here watching this on like I am playing a game and I'm watching this on the side and Gary and Tyler are on a call with me and we're all talking and I'm seeing this like, what are they doing? Oh my god, they just killed every single person in that bus because that thing flips and I have seen crap like that before. Everyone is dead. Everyone is dead. And then it flips to the news podcast or whatever their person, and they're just like, and there was no casualties in the blah, blah, blah. And fuck you, there was no casualties. There's my one fuck, by the way.
director's commentary says that he asked them to roll a bus, and he's like, "Oh, it turns out giant buses are not designed to roll. Like, there's a lot of safety features, like that they're not designed to do power slides in a giant
Weird.
bus." Like, I'm sure the wheel turning radius is probably not designed to do that either.
The physics did it for me. I thought a low riding sports car for speed that's designed lower with a bus, even if it's got a big fender in the front, is probably elevated a little bit with the tires. If that vehicle stopped right in front of his corner, I figured he would just roll right over the top of the back of that vehicle and crush him flat. Would be my thought.
Me too. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It looks like as what's his name, Paul Walker stops his car, I just see the bus going into it and like, okay, so there's one of two things happening. Either this car is made of obtanium, something like that, or gonna roll a car and he's gonna everyone else.
Apparently, it was achieved via fuckloads of air cannons. Sorry, that's my fifth F of the podcast. Sorry, I'll try to.
I was
change it
just
back.
wondering,
Tyler.
like, they put, you see the convicts on there. Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler, I jumped in front of you.
No, you're fine. Keep going.
You see the convicts on the bus, and I'm just sitting there being like, there's like no guards. There's just, these are supposedly, if they're all around the same kind of criminal, then they're either really clever or really dangerous, and they're just on a bus with a bus driver, maybe one guard. What?
I do want to call out here. This is for you Parks and Rec fans. Perd Hapley is one of the news anchors on there, so
I don't know who that is.
you should watch
I
Parks
did
and
see
Rec
that as
someday.
well. It was
I'll go-
odd to see him read the news podcast without the Perd Hapley voice, though.
Yep. Go ahead, Steven.
So I was just bringing it back to the car thing as well. I was just wondering what they do with everyone after they roll the bus and apparently get Dom out there without a single scratch on him. Like, this is a bus full of high profile, like, killers or murderers. Because they even say, like, this is a super high priority, blah, blah, blah. So what happens to everyone? That's what I want to know.
I feel like if Con Air taught me anything, it's that I thought everyone was like chained to their seats.
Yeah.
And they just stayed there nicely in the bus crash and waited to be picked up again and taken back to jail.
So then, moving on from the bus and news scene, unless Gary has more.
I was curious if anyone noticed if it's anything different or literally it seemed like it was almost a shot for shot like reuse of everything from the end of the last movie.
It almost feels like it's something like they did at the end of the last movie and like, we'll just use this for the next movie.
Yeah, I was like, it's not the Back to the Future 2 version of the scene. Like, I think it's just a shot for shot. Like, they just reused the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for podcast listeners, Back to the Future 2 has a different Jennifer. Teaching something new today.
How is that something? Just like there's, 3 trees and they grow to 4 trees.
I don't know what Steven's saying. Back to you, Tyler.
Anyways, here.
Butterfly can flap its wings in Central Park and get rain instead of sunshine.
So then the next shot of the film is the iconic shot that you know exactly where we are in the world, Brazil, with the giant Rio de Janeiro Jesus Christ statue that's up on top of a hill there. It's like instantly, well, we're going to Brazil.
Tyler, I didn't know we were in Brazil. I knew it was Rio. I don't know where Rio is on a map.
Really
so
not?
Thank you for that.
I was actually going to go with what Tyler said as well. Like, it's really nice to see a TV show go to or a movie go to a spot and not have to say this place because it's very obvious. It's like going to London where you already have all the iconic London scenes, or if you say New York and you're showing the Statue of Liberty, if you're showing the Mount Cristo, it's you should know exactly where that is real easily, quickly. Or the pyramids.
One thing the director said about shooting over that area is that helicopter shots in that area are always only in certain parts of the city because there are parts of the city that you'll get hit by RPGs if you try to film via helicopter from there.
Favelas do favela things.
Yes.
Yep.
Favela around, favela find out.
Boo.
Shake my head at that one.
You're welcome.
Anyway, sorry. Continue, Tyler.
So Brian and Mia land basically in Brazil here, and they end up meeting up with Vince.
He's alive.
Yeah, we learned he did survive the events of Fast 1 there.
Say that was one of our questions. Everybody asked,
Yep.
like at the end of 1, did he live? Did he not? So.
And it's just kind of interesting that like basically they just land in Brazil, like they just get there, and it's all like, hey, you guys want to go do a job with me? Gary?
I was going to point out that I enjoyed that the first thing that Vince says is just like I think he just acknowledges Mia and then just like, oh, Buster. Like, oh, that's all he says. And it's a callback to the first movie where he like, you came back with this Buster to our house. Like, the Buster was who kept me out of jail.
Buster kept me out of handcuffs.
Did Vince ever actually
But I
call
thought-
him Buster, or was that all?
Oh, yeah.
It felt like that was always just Dom calling Brian Buster.
No, Vince.
I
was
thought
in
he said you
first.
brought this Buster back. He was like, the Buster, without the Buster, I'd be in handcuffs.
Yeah.
I thought
Sure.
he acknowledges him as a Buster. I don't know what that
I-
is. I'm not up
Tyler
on my
doesn't remember
90s
these
street
movies.
vernacular.
It's a Mega
Tyler
Man
doesn't really watch
gun.
these movies. He doesn't remember them.
A Buster is the cannon Mega Man uses in the Mega Man series there to shoot the bad guys.
Nerd.
Can also be found in Dead Rising.
I actually didn't realize that was the Buster that was referring to. So
Yes.
I don't know if Tyler's making shit up or not. I'm completely lost.
So is Tyler. But anyways.
I thought a Buster thought a buster was a reference to a TLC song in the 90s.
I think that's Scrubs, and we don't want none.
True.
Scrubs. I don't know anything. I know that we don't want no scrubs.
I'm just gonna kind of keep moving on because like this movie just kind of goes a little bit there at the beginning. And it's just like next part is there's the shot of them in the train. They're basically talking about which countries do or do not have extradition, and then you see the vehicle that comes up out of nowhere, and I'm like, there's people on the back of that thing. Those fucking people would have died or been severely ejected from some of the jumps it shows that thing is taking. Steven.
Can I point out that just because a country does not have extradition to the United States does not mean they won't arrest you for the United States. They're just not going to send you back to the United States. So when they're talking about, oh, we could just go to a country without extradition, good for you. You're still going to go to jail.
But they'll just keep you in that country as a criminal. Like,
yeah, exactly.
But it sounds good for the audience, Steven.
Yeah.
So, Nick, I think they're probably chained in. They probably have a lanyard. They're probably like clamped in.
I agree with Tyler. I had that same note. It's like that first jump shows this thing like buggy jumping over a sand dune and then hard nose plant in. It's like if you're not lanyarded somehow into that, yeah, you'd go flying.
Okay, but they also
The
jump
behind the
into like a
scenes
600-foot river right after this, so...
No, not that car.
No, but they
the
do.
heist...
That's what I'm saying. So there is no physics in this.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's no physics. Yeah.
I'd like to take this moment to also highlight that this movie begins the start of like the physics don't matter in the Fast and Furious movies also.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
Yes, at some point in time, reality does not come into play anymore. Like the laws of physics do not apply to the crew anymore.
I didn't realize
it goes a little off the rails since we're talking about trains.
Yes.
They talked about in the behind the scenes how those trucks are made. Those trucks is like a custom built truck. Basically they made a monster truck. Like it's the suspension is designed like a monster truck. Like, and so that's why it looks freaking cool and it can jump sand dunes.
Well, like it has so many different parts that like a jump that high too would. Again, I'm not the most car guy person, but it would like bend or tweak the frame, I'd think, because we find out later that like the whole bed can lift is a hydraulic, and so it's not actually on all four corners tied together. It would just be the frame of the original vehicle. And,
I think that's just the suspension is designed for that, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, it's just interesting.
All the axles, I think, are independent and.
But then, like the next amazing part here is like they blow towards the side of the train off, and somehow the people on the back don't get taken off, when the thing just rips off the train. And then
or you didn't have a plan to like peel off the metal and let the wind take it with you. Like, yeah, just like let's cut it. Let's take 2 steps back, and then this giant piece of razor sharp, bloody hot fucking sheet metal doesn't murder us. Steven?
So here, everyone here, do scenes like this kind of take you out of a movie? Scenes where they don't have any sort of reality or any sort of like, do they take you out of a movie? Because it does take me out of a movie. As I see this happen, I'm just like, so nothing matters, whatever.
Go ahead, Amanda.
Maybe, but I've also like mentally prepared myself now for the Fast and Furious movies to be like that. So maybe it depends if I'm mentally prepared for it or not. I did want to say like about that scene when they're cutting through the outside of the train is about when my daughter wandered in and took a look at the TV and said, "What's that?"
Train.
And I was like, "Oh, you know what? Let's just see what happens for a few minutes." I decided to take a risk.
Really, there's no naked ladies until like the second half of the movie.
No, but
Not
there's not a
naked
lot of
ladies.
violence. So we start watching it, and I was like, "It's a train," and I'm like, "Yeah." And then the thing rips off, and she's like, "Oh, what was that?" And I'm like, "Oh no, it broke." And she's like, "It's train broken?" We watched for a few minutes, and she's like, "They're fighting," and I was like, "Oh yeah, they totally are fighting." And then some guy gets thrown out of the train and smacks against the bridge. And you should have heard her gasp. And that was when I was like, "Okay, yeah, we're done."
I didn't realize that you actually watched it this long with her. I know you I
It
know
was
you
for a couple
tried for
minutes.
a little bit.
And that was when I said, nope, we're done.
I'm
I was like, uh-oh. And she was like, and she went up to Steven and goes, they're fighting, Daddy. And he was like, oh yeah, I bet they were. Like, I don't think
I didn't realize we got
I
to
didn't
that,
explain
Amanda.
to Steven well. No, I'm sorry. So that was when I was like, okay, I think we're done. And that was when I stopped. So
Not at the
She
point where
was-
the guy tried to burn out Brian's eyeballs with a cutting torch.
no, we stopped before that. It was when the guy
Thank
got thrown off
God.
and got hit by the bridge. Yeah. Well, like it was a gamble.
Oh
And I
yeah.
was wrong. So I thought you guys would enjoy that because she was fascinated, but also she was, as soon as I was like, okay, yep, it's all done, and she was like, okay, like she just walked away and she half went up to Steven, Daddy, they fighting.
I will say, to go back to Steven's question about being taken out of the movie because of stuff like this, I mean, it's all kind of movie dependent there. Like, this was a series I kind of knew. I mean, like, like, I don't take a lot of movies too seriously. Like, there's a lot of times laws of physics don't apply to most movies. So it's just like, it's part of the action. You just it's a summer blockbuster movie. You shut your mind off and you sit back and enjoy the ride. Nick.
There's a couple times in the movie where like people are okay, that person got hurt or that person is no longer a threat, quote unquote, because they were taken out in the movie. But like to Amanda's comment, when the person got thrown against the side of the train, you're just like, oh, he did.
There was a lot of those moments where I was like,
yes. Yep.
Was that so? I'm sorry. Just real quick.
I'm answering your question. You can take it, and
okay.
I'll come back to your question.
I was just. I'm going to ask a second question. So let's just go this. And I have a second question.
So Steven, what would have been realistic? What would have been a realistic? Like, obviously, I think the director said he was trying to rebuild a stagecoach robbery but without horses. So they drove up beside it and they were trying to steal from it. And obviously, if it was money, I think that would have been a little more realistic than trying to jump cars out. Like, if it was Indiana Jones loot, it would have been slightly more realistic.
I mean, it doesn't need to be super hyper realism, but it needs to make a little bit of sense. Like, when
you don't think you'd want to steal those cars? I don't know how much those cars are. They're probably
No, I think
No,
Steven's just more
$1,000.
referencing the steel just being ripped off the side of the train there.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think Steven, you were saying motive. Gary, you mentioned motive to that. He's talking more the physics of it, how it was done.
yeah, it's a physics.
well,
of it,
how would
but-
you show that? Like, you got to cut a hole. Like, you don't
Okay.
blow a hole in it. You got to cut it with an oxyacetylene torch. And then you probably would peel it in real life. You'd probably peel it from one end. And then you'd probably just like let it hang off like an open tuna can. And then you'd have a sharp piece of fucking steel behind you.
So here's the thing. I don't have to come up with it because I'm not the movie director who got paid millions of dollars to do this. If I was a movie director who got paid millions of dollars to do this,
no one
I'd
would
do
see that
some more
movie.
homework.
That's fair.
Like, there's a way to make this entertaining and sort of realistic, right? You don't have to do one or the other.
I don't know.
Like-
I mean, it's kind of a scale there. Of
I'm
like,
going.
you go one way or the other sometimes, and you want to try to hit it in the middle, but sometimes you veer too far one way or the other.
Steven, obviously I was just gonna say, in like 5 minutes into this scene, two guys jump off a cliff.
I know.
And the director even said that he researched how high you could jump and survive.
Oh,
And
really?
he said if we would have people jump that high, it would not be anything impressive that anyone would want to watch. So you record it so that it's impressive, it's cinematic. So like they did do the research, but they're like, we just got to suspend some disbelief.
And here's the thing too, like, okay, what is it, Gary? Do you remember? Did they mention like offhand of like you can only jump from 50 feet up and live or something like that? Does that ever?
I think it was about, if you see the jump, it's about half that height.
Okay,
Like,
and it goes back to that thing of like just. Again, you shut your mind off for these movies, like any summer blockbuster movie. You shut your mind off a little bit to watch it here. It's kind of more about cool spectacle versus the laws of physics applying there.
There's I'll be honest, when I was getting ready to watch this movie, I remembered bits and pieces and I remembered key scenes in my mind as like stills, but I didn't remember all the details of it. In my mind, I thought that they were going to pull out like wingsuits and like fly away. The whole time watching them drop, I was just like, and now. Any minute now. Any minute. They're going to hit the ground? And like so I'm with Steven a little bit. I'm like, I think that
The wingsuits would be a later entry in the series there, I'm sure.
like I said, everything kind of blends together. I do think that there's a invaried scale here where it's like this is a heist movie, but it's also an action movie, and we can make the heist less plausible by upping the action and making it more wow factor. But then you lose some of that. That's not really logically how that would work. Versus there are scenes in this movie where they're like, oh, the heist, and it's like that's pretty intense. That's pretty smart. Okay, I can see that being there. But it's the scenes where there's no major explosions, so it goes back.
Oh, so obviously Steven's saying this already took him out of the movie. Like I was okay with this. The later scenes that break all fucking physics, those bothered me more.
No, so I wasn't saying this specifically. It starts taking me out of the movie, and then as we get more and more, like I fall out of the movie, and it's just like, well, there's no consequences. It's just run and gun, I guess. It's like watching Call of Duty.
I will admit there is a little bit of plot armor around the main characters.
A little bit.
They play it slow motion and the music gets really intense, like, oh, are they gonna survive? And you know they're gonna, so but it's interesting. So yeah.
Anyway, so sorry, real quick.
You're good.
Your second question, sorry.
Crap, I don't remember what it was. It must not have been that important.
Continue.
Nick, were you trying to say something there, or?
No, I was just talking between the two of you.
Oh, I thought Steven had a second question, so I was trying to pitch it.
I can't remember it.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe it'll come back to you. And yes, you did talk too long.
Wrap it up, Gary.
Brief scene of Dom and Brian kind of hanging out in that the bad guy's torture chamber area there. Wondering what happened to the GT40 because apparently something is up with that GT40, aka the blue car.
Did they show exactly how they got picked up at all, or did they just kind of teleport?
How Brian and Dom got picked up?
Yeah.
Yep.
They're surrounded in the water gets surrounded like way too fast.
No,
that's
when they land, there's a scene then of a pickup truck and stuff like that pulling up from the lower area with guns out and stuff like that.
How did they get there? Maybe
I'm sure there's people probably following them or something, like make sure the heist goes correctly.
Something.
The people who can't be trusted to jump onto a train, they can just be around in the area just in case.
Well, clearly, as we find out through the rest of this movie, this is a vast network of people throughout Rio and probably the greater metropolitan area. So I'm sure there's henchmen aplenty.
It's Brazil.
It's Brazil.
Torture chamber.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just an introduction to the bad guy with Brian and Dom breaking out. I don't even think the bad guy says his name in there, other than
I was listening. I was listening for it. Yeah, he's. They say Reyes, I think, but like we're introduced like who he is, what he does. He's just a business guy, I think, at that point. He says, "Where's my car?" or something like that. I think so. You know, he's like the person. Why the big bad guy has to always monologue and not just like, you know.
Well, he's got to find the cars. He needs them to give up the location of where Mia took the car. And then after both Brian and Dom break out there and get back to the safe house where Mia's at there, we get the they kind of question what's up with that car there. Why is it such a big deal? they took this car here, so they start taking it apart. And then we get the best introduction of Mr. Dwayne The Rock Johnson showing up on a plane. Amanda?
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, I was answering Gary's question.
Oh, wait,
Gary-
you
Gary wanted to know if anyone else played bingo for this Fast and Furious. I made some bingo sheets. I did do that. And I think I sat there immediately checking things off. I made these bingo sheets based on not having seen the rest of the movies. And I am very interested how many of those did apply quickly to this movie, but also how many didn't, because this is definitely a different caliber movie, I think, from the last couple.
For my clarification, what bingo item is in the upper left? Because I only played one of the two cards.
Where are the cards?
In the Fast and Furious
In a
Bingo
secret
Items
place.
channel.
Yeah. I had Dom says something about family in the upper left, and that one took me most of the movie to get through.
I did the other sheet. There was 2 different ones.
Oh,
How long did it take you to get through that?
I wrote it down. It took me 1 hour and 13 minutes.
Holy buckets. Corona is what destroyed my bingo card. Oh crap, I had vehicle jumps or flies an unrealistic distance. I didn't check that one off, but no, like
awesome.
Corona like held me off. Like they did not.
Yeah,
Corona
I
did
didn't-
not pay
I
enough
did
for
not
this
see
movie.
Corona. Yeah, it didn't work out in this one. But there
Didn't
was a
they
lot of other
have-
things. My first
didn't
one
they
I
have
think I
Coronas
checked
at the
off was someone definitely died in that car crash. That was like the first thing I checked off right away. And I was like, oh man, not even like a minute in. I don't remember what it was. Whenever the bus rolled.
Okay, so Tyler, do you care if we go through the things on the bingo card that didn't get checked off?
Go
Because this
for it.
is Amanda, someone mentions a 10-second car.
Yeah, I didn't get that one either.
Didn't get that one. NOS is used too early.
There
See, I
was
can
not
see
only
the
get-
ones.
there was only like one actual race that they showed us the entire
Oh yeah,
Crazy
also
not.
to explain my bingo card, NOS was the winning bingo item. And I was like, I'm not gonna make it. Not gonna happen. My wife is sitting with me in the room and like Dom like flips open and NOS. So I was like, yes, NOS! Like I was like, I don't think she understood how excited I was for NOS. Someone has big speakers in the trunk was not shown.
Mm-hmm.
Taking way too long at the bad guys' hideout. Colorful cars used despite trying to keep a low profile.
See, I
Someone
checked
thinks
that
they're
one.
badass and
That one had
clearly isn't.
that car had the blue and the stripes. I counted that one, but I can understand that wasn't as colorful as the ones we'd seen before.
Yeah, other than that, I got most of the sheet, but nothing lined up. Like
That's awesome.
NOS got it for me. The winnings for me was Dom mentioned family, explosions, incompetent police chase, zoom in on girls dancing, and then NOS. It's like, but I didn't think I was gonna win, so I'm happy that you got your bingo card a little sooner.
Yeah, I was about to say, what was the times that you guys got?
Mine was 1 hour 13 minutes, or not one. Yeah, 1 hour 13
Oh, I
minutes.
posted it somewhere.
I thought Gary's was closer to 2 hours.
Oh, did I put it in that bingo?
1 hour 51 minutes for Gary.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But that was on the bridge. To explain how, if anyone knows where we're at, on the bridge, NOS got it for me. Like the movie was almost over. Like, at what point, Amanda, did you get your final bingo item? And what was it?
It was definitely at that 1 hour 13 minute mark because we paused to see, and then what was it?
That's when they're in the Brazil car club area there with Hobbs showing up to try and arrest Paul or Dom.
Oh, that's it. It was girls dancing.
Welcome to Brazil.
Did you do an exciting yes moment? Like,
I think it was less enthusiastic than yours because Steven was watching over my shoulder and he was analyzing, like, I think you can have that one. And I was like, well, I don't know.
It's
I
not
will
so
admit
bad.
that I would like to have someone over my shoulder because I'm just like, wow, these are really tough. Like, anyway, I want to share that with the audience. If you want to make your own bingo cards, suggest it. Highly
That's pretty
encouraged.
If you want mine, I'll send them to you.
Contact us at 1-800-BINGO cards.
Amanda, for the next movie, as a hypothetical, which items would you add and which would you remove?
Let's wait till the end of the podcast.
Well, to the end. Okay, let's
'Cause we
roll
still
on then,
have a
Tyler.
whole
I'm
movie
sorry.
to get through here.
I took a temporary bingo break.
Yeah.
And you guys think I detract from the content?
Oh,
Temporary bingo break.
I'm
So
sorry,
like-
listeners. I was excited, and I was excited to talk about bingo.
So like I said, we get to the part in the movie where The Rock shows up there, all covered in shiny baby oil or whatever it is there, because he is just glowing on
He's
that airport.
glowing.
He is the Rock. That's just the normal how he does.
Just
He wakes up like that.
fucking jacked too. He is.
Yeah.
Just,
Mm-hmm.
like I think he gets bigger as the series goes on when he shows up in the movies too, but it's just like he's so fucking huge.
I think the director said he actually got more muscular for this movie, like too.
I
Not as
believe
much,
it.
because this is before Pain and Gain, right? Because Pain and
think so.
Gain he gets real jacked.
Yeah.
What's Pain and Gain? I don't know this. It doesn't
Uh,
matter.
That's a Mark Wahlberg movie. It's on the Plex.
It's
bro.
based on a
It's
true story, Steven. You'll love it. It's based on a true story.
It's Michael Bay directing a movie that doesn't have explosions in it.
Oh,
What?
Yeah, I know. It's really strange, but it's really good.
Say it isn't
He
though.
restrains himself.
Doesn't make sense.
Okay.
That's
Nick,
an
what do you
alternate
got?
universe.
Michael Bay, no explosions. Yeah, I'm sold.
Yeah.
I do have to say that Hobbs has some of the best one-liners in the whole movie, next to Ludacris. He's like, "You want the good news or the bad news first?" He's like, "You know, I like my damn dessert first." And then later he goes, give me the veggies."
I started
stuff.
noting some of those down because he also comes out early on with like either he says get your thunderwear on or your thunderwear. I didn't quite
Yep.
catch exactly what word, but I burst out laughing. I thought it was hilarious.
I thought that was actually going to be your opener today.
I couldn't give it away, Steven. Also, again, I'm not sure if it's thunderwear or thunderwear, but he says all these things and he says it with such a deadpan, like serious look, and I'm like, this movie's a little bit aged just with some of these silly phrases, and I was
He is,
loving them. I was eating them up. They were great.
he is obviously a professional wrestler that has done it for years and knows how to deliver a absolutely ridiculous statement in complete seriousness. Like,
His charisma stat is pretty high up there.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
He could talk.
will-
He could talk you into anything in an RPG.
I like her smile.
Yeah, he likes Elena's smile, the cop he recruits for a translator.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about
I've
trying to bring that in my intro, and I was like, I don't even know. Whatever.
They bring up exactly where he is being dispatched from in the beginning, right here, because he's the diplomatic security service.
America.
Yeah, America. Well, okay, but the diplomatic security
I
service.
think there's a part like after the train heist where they go back to the lockup and Mia is talking about how they're all over, like they're now wanted people for allegedly shooting those DEA agents.
Mhm.
Brian's like, they're going to send everyone after us now.
So here's my thing. Why the diplomatic security service? There are so many law enforcement agencies within the United States, and this movie obviously doesn't care about jurisdiction or anything like that. Why the diplomatic security service is one of the largest security services in the U.S., but it only operates to save like embassies and stuff like diplomats and whatnot. Why are they doing police actions on narco terrorists
things that break the third wall for the fourth wall for everyone else, and then things that break the fourth wall for Steven is geopolitics and geopolitical policing.
I was
Like
gonna say,
damn
Steven,
right.
push everything.
you answered your own question of like this movie doesn't care. They're gonna throw shit out at
It
you.
wasn't anything. They could have used fucking Delta Force if they really wanted. Why not use Delta Force?
The director probably read this
Instead of-
agency's name and went, "Sure, yep, okay, we're gonna go with that. Don't care."
I thought
The
they said at one
audience-
point DEA.
It was the DEA agents on the train. I don't think Hobbs is necessarily associated with that, because then I remember later on Brian mentions the FBI. They're going to old school testament and stuff like that. But
Well, that's what he's saying. He kind of he says basically that this diplomatic security service is basically the FBI's like crack squad of blah blah blah. And it's like the diplomatic security service is in the State Department. It's not even in the FBI. What are you talking
Okay.
about?
let's take the percentage of people watching this movie that know that information, and it's
Oh
less
my
than maybe
God.
1%.
Our one person, surprise, surprise, is also a background of criminal justice knowledge and loves this.
I had to ask
Steven-
Google, and it is in fact the Diplomatic Security Service. So even Google knows where he works for. I didn't know.
Again,
Sorry.
time
Again.
and place too. I'm like, You
Steven, I have to congratulate you for sounding, when you first started saying that, I could tell how calm and like you were collected, you were trying to say it. I can assure you guys that when I was watching the movie, he came in and was getting very irritated a couple different times since he knew it was coming. And he was like, look at that. What is that even? And I was like, I don't care because it's Fast and Furious. So I know that we're missing a small element. And
This is
later,
why I'm
at the
drinking
very
Corona.
end of the movie, it did. Well, that's the end of the movie. But we saw another flash towards the thing that said diplomatic, and I almost was like, oh, Steven. Oh, never mind. I don't want to get lectured.
I like Steven's level of importance was like he had the wrong kind of patch on. He had the wrong number of chevettes, chevrons. Sorry, I don't know what it's actually called in real world like militaries. I know in Star Trek it's pips. He has the wrong number of pips, but
And Doya Montana's.
in Doyle, Montana. Then we transition from the introduction to Hobbs to Brian and Dom are back taking apart that GT40, and Vince shows up there, or whatever. Brian and Vince get into a little scuffle, and Dom yells at them to go walk it off, which I thought was just kind of hilarious. Of like, they're wanted criminals now in Brazil, and Dom's just like, go walk it off.
Also, they're in the favela. Like, as we see later on in this show, they do not portray the favela as a nice place where you could just go walk
Favela.
something off. Favela.
Mhm.
I said favela.
Is it Flavella or Favela?
It's favela. There's
it
no
favela?
L.
Oh.
There's no
Oh,
L in
I've
the
always-
beginning. I don't think.
Oh, it's
things that
always
aren't
been-
game breaking for me.
I
There
mean,
you
How you pronounce words.
I called it Favela because that's what I heard in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 at the time.
There you go.
Did you have something there, Nick? You look like you wanted to say something.
No, I was
That's
just agreeing with a thumbs up. Yeah, it's favela. Only one L at the
Mhm.
later half. Tyler.
And then we can move on to the one history lesson in this movie.
The one.
Well, the one that is
Jeez.
outwardly talked about there, it feels like.
The one you've been waiting for.
So, Steven, to you then, Mr. History Buff, this is a true statement that Reyes is talking about of why the Brazilian people speak Portuguese more than Spanish, because of how the Portuguese people interacted with the people versus the Spaniards?
No,
Not at all?
no, it's not correct. It's the reason why Brazil speaks Portuguese instead of Spanish is because the Pope decided to give Brazil to Portugal instead of Spain. And so the Portuguese colonized the area of Brazil while Spain colonized everywhere else. The Portuguese, I want to say, maybe were a little bit more benevolent, but I mean, we're talking on a scale of white settlers colonizing native lands. Benevolent is a very loose term here. but it is the Amanda, I think, is googling it. It is the something Treaty of Treaty of Tordesillas.
Tordesillas.
Thank you, Tordesillas, and that is the agreement which gives half of the world to Portugal and half of the world to Spain.
There's a line that goes vertically through a world map, and they said everything east of the line is Portugal and everything west of the line was Spain. That part of Brazil was, or the part that will eventually become modern day Brazil, was east of the line.
You're telling me the one bit of like world building about a country in this whole movie, and they filmed it in Brazil, wasn't even factually accurate. And I think the guy who says the line might even be Portuguese. Or
But
might
I'm
even be
sure the
Brazilian.
Portuguese had gifts. I'm sure, and we all know the Spanish had their weapons. I'm sure there, but I don't think that's the only thing there is to it.
All the nations, they slave labor. That is not the reason why they speak Portuguese. Basically, end of the story is that is not why they speak Portuguese.
We don't need to go into that here because I don't need a history lesson at 11
So
o'clock
Treaty
on
of,
a Wednesday.
So
Sorry,
more
hurt
history?
people's feelings.
More history.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the Treaty of Tordesillas was signed in 1506. What year was that, Gary?
1506. Is that the same year that Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492?
Yes,
You ask the question and
1506.
give the answer.
Gary now has 2 history facts.
Exactly.
All right.
That is, by the way, real quick, I will say that is one of the reasons why you'd never hear Spanish spoken in Africa, because none of their lands were in Africa. So, sorry, continue.
That makes sense.
I was gonna say we move on then to Dom observing Vince trying to take that chip from the car that they discovered, which he gets real upset and angry about, and we learn that what's really on the chip there is basically like a delivery schedule. Go ahead, Gary.
So was there like an apartment in this like garage? Because it felt like Brian and Mia like come out of a door, like they were maybe like sleeping in an apartment.
I think
You know,
so,
for
'cause-
people who are were wolfing down food, like they weren't really making ends meet, they sure found a nice hideaway.
right.
Speaking of money, and this is jumping ahead, but they one of the things the director acknowledges that like for holding up a giant heist, they somehow had all this money, and they was like, should we explain this? And they're like, nah, we'll be okay. We don't need to explain how they're living, like after burning a shitload of money at some point.
An extra vault, an extra all this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like not the vault. The vault is kind of crazy, but maybe the safe house was a place that Vince had as a backup, as he was living down there.
Because
I don't
Vince seems like the type of really, go-getter
No,
businessman who's
Not
gonna.
that not that he has anything legitimately on the books, but I mean maybe just like it's an old abandoned place and they put up some lights or something. I don't know.
It seemed like Vince worked for the bad guys. So like if it was on the books with them, you think if like for Vince,
would
you think
find
the
it
bad
sooner.
guys would know.
Well, the bad guys do know because they show up at the place, right? That's like the next scene. It's not the favelas guys with guns that Vince is like, they're with me when they first show up. It's the guys who are there like shooting all the people because they're with Reyes and the little secondary henchman dude whose name I never actually caught, but he's like
Neither
the
did I.
right hand man. He's the right hand man to him.
I will say one more thing that pulled me out of this movie just slightly was this right-hand man guy, because all I know him from is the unit, and he's a good guy in the unit, a TV show about black operations, United States, blah blah blah. But the point being is that every time I see him, I'm like, oh, that's a good. No, he's not a good guy, and so I have to keep switching myself.
You know what? Also, I feel like I didn't get I would have actually liked an explanation for. When they were trying to get that car, when they were doing the job to get the cars off the train in the first place, like that's the car that they got the chip off of. Why was that car there in the first place? Like, how did?
It got seized by DEA, I assume.
Well, because like they went ballistic after Dom and these guys get this car, but they didn't do it when it was seized by the DEA in the first place. Like they were already in hot shit, and then
on a rewatch, I did notice that there's like a weird interchange between the second in command and the another henchman, that they were like, "Oh yeah, you're taking this car," and then they're like, "No, Mia's taking this car. It fits me better." And like, so you can just like sense that there are two conversations happening on the train. I jump back to the train.
Yeah.
Sorry. But like Dom and Brian could both sense that like something
gonna go down.
was not right, and they told Mia like go to the secondary hideout spot because they knew that they were gonna get double crossed. Like they knew ahead of time, like they weren't all going to the same end zone. Like some people were going the opposite direction.
I knew too with my fine senses. I figured it out. I know you guys didn't catch it, but I totally got it.
Also, nothing can go wrong. Nothing could go all right in a heist in the first 5 minutes of a Fast and the Furious movie.
In any movie.
Like,
in any movie.
Everything went right. We made millions of dollars, and we just did this other heist for fun. Like, Nick, sorry.
You're good. I had highlighted too, not so much the car and like the plausibility of like, why would we not care about the car until it gets busted by the protagonist? I had, why put the clue or the map or the chip in general into something that's mobile with wheels, like could so easily be taken away, right? Or maybe design it so that, hey, if this one little thing gets discovered, it doesn't have all of my cash houses on it. Like break it up and like here's a quarter of them or something like that.
No.
It's a much more interesting MacGuffin if it's all in one thing.
That doesn't steal Steven out of the movie. Logistics of drug trafficking does not take Steven out of the movie.
My extensive knowledge with drug trafficking tells me that is a poor thing to do.
Yeah, I'm so shocked they've never been caught yet. Seriously. And they seem to know where everything was just fine without it, so why did they need that on that chip too? But whatever.
Could you account it to hubris?
For new drivers, they would just give you the whole list right there. Take this stuff over here. Here's where you go.
Right.
I mean, in
That's
their
great
defense, they don't have the amazing GPS like animations that they had in the last movie. I think I would have been more impressed if they added in the same GPS navigation as in the last movie. I don't. Was it like a bunch of girls with like checkered flags or something? Like it was a very like overly animated version of GPS. So yeah. So then I think we're at the favelas being attacked.
Train, so I forget where we're at.
Well, the favelas being attacked, correct?
Yes.
The bad guys come and try to attack, and then the good guys kind of sort of try to pack stuff up and start running away. Brian and Mia run first, and then Dom runs, and then simultaneously, because things obviously always happen at the same time. Also Vin Diesel's The Rock's character, who have I forgotten his name, also shows up in the favelas at the exact same time.
Of course.
And chaos ensues.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any notes on the chaos?
It seems like a very poorly planned operation from a supposedly crack elite super military unit. Doesn't seem like they have any idea what they're going into. Doesn't seem like they have any idea that there's a paramilitary that might be around there. Doesn't seem like they have any idea of what the layout of the area is going to be. Like it, for being a crack super unit, they are.
They did
so
no
they're
real
just
time.
gonna go in with guns into a heavily populated area in a foreign country and see if that like if the clues were just gonna fly in their face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
of
I
a
mean, like
secret
Dom
underground
says,
hideout for international fugitives.
yeah, like Dom says, he honestly totally acted like he was in the U.S.
You're just blasting away nationals in a foreign country, right? Like that'd be a poor thing to do.
And
Even if they're
walking into a
criminals.
foreign country with guns and be like, I'm just gonna intimidate you, because I'm the Rock.
Because America. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, America, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Coming again to save the motherfucking day. Sorry.
So, but I would have expected this super elite team to do a lot better in that scenario than they did.
Mm-hmm.
Have some air recon, some drones, some like
A watch,
some
a
sort
spotter,
of
like you know
Or-
what? If every movie ever has taught me anything, it's that if you're gonna have a super elite, super military unit, blah blah blah, they're gonna have a sniper. Where was the sniper?
Overwatch.
where would you
Right?
put the sniper in the favelas? I guess he
In the
could just be
favelas, in
one.
all the houses that are stacked on top of each other.
Yeah,
I
Or,
don't
like,
know,
alter the
man.
angle.
They'd send them up higher up the hill and go and watch. Like, they didn't do anything. They just literally walked up to the thing.
Or take a helicopter and like buzz over it.
Mm-hmm. So there's a scene here amidst all the chasing and whatnot where, what's Hobbs's local gal's name again?
Elena.
Elena, thank you. Where the Elena local officer, notices that like Dom's necklace has fallen off. And again, going back and watching these movies again, even all the way back in the first one, Dom is still wearing that necklace, and it's kind of like a tying thread in this theme. Then she picks it up, and I was like, "That's interesting to go back and see," because like obviously watching these movies as they were released, I did not pick up that his necklace had that much prominence in these movies.
It was like, well, in the last movie, in the commentary in the last movie, like that's when he like found the necklace, and that's why Letty's found with the necklace. You didn't know that? Like the necklace is also how he finds out that Letty was.
I thought he found out Letty was murdered because he got a phone call from Mia.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
how he does find
I
out.
think
It's
his
just-
necklace was in the personal effects of Letty.
Yes, he gave the necklace to Letty when he left her in Panama there.
Oh yeah, on a stack of money next to her nightstand. Yeah.
Yes. But
Yeah.
he does find out from Mia via a phone call that Letty's dead. The necklace is then with Letty's personal effects, I think, in Brian's box of evidence there. Then that phone call happens and they fight each other. But
That's another movie.
yes.
But anyways, I was just highlighting again. It comes back to this necklace also plays a part, and then Elena has a little memento of Dom's.
And then once they escape this elite task force there, they end up in this sewer area, and Dom's talking about how they need to split up to get away from them and everything, like get away from all these guys and stuff like that. And Mia's like, "No, I don't want to do this here, whatever. We all just got back together." And then she just drops the bomb out of nowhere. "I'm pregnant," and it's just like, okay. Go ahead, Nick.
I disagree. I disagree. Not out of nowhere.
We as the audience, yes, you're right. We as the audience know.
There's an early scene that we glance over, which is fine, where we're introduced to Vince has not only been alive these last few months or years, whatever, but he's got a wife and a little son, and Mia's like holding the baby, sets the baby down, is like, "I'm sorry," and steps away really quickly. And for a brief second, I was like, "Why is she?" And I was like, "Oh, I bet she," because I forgot since this movie came out. Like I did not remember that knowledge was released in that way. And so then she's already got it on her mind. And there's a time too when Mia's watching Dom and Brian rip apart the car, and she looks at him and goes, "I need to tell you something." And then that Vince walks in, I think, at that point and interrupts it. So not
I
out
didn't
of
catch
nowhere.
that second. I didn't catch that second one. But I
You can tell
did
she
feel
wants to
that
talk about something.
the immediate like getting sick was supposed to be like kind of an early warning, because I'm guessing if it wasn't there, if there was nothing, it would be a very harsh 180, like an M. Night Shyamalan level twist if she just drops it in the middle of this like rain gutter. So the director did talk about like that was a very important scene because that is supposed to like cement the family and supposed to cement they're going to stay together, and if it sucked, it would just kind of derailed everything from that point.
Yeah, no, I think that it does. I think Dom even says that word too. He says like our family is growing or something like that.
Yeah. Also, speaking of things that become a little more prevalent, family, I think it's definitely used a lot more in this movie, and I think it another thing that gets kind of ramped up to 11 in later movies is the family.
Yeah, it really starts to culminate here in this movie. The idea of the crew and the family. I remember though when Steven was watching the movie here, he just mentioned, "Oh, that's out." What'd you say? Like that's out of nowhere or something like that, or
Yeah. Okay. Something like that.
Amanda, were you surprised, or was it just Steven who didn't see it coming?
No, I remembered it as soon as it happened from seeing this in the theaters.
Oh yeah, this is the one you saw. I mean, I can't tell
I
you
didn't
that the first time I watched this, it didn't come out of nowhere, but
Yeah, well, I mean, and the first time I had absolutely no expectations, so I was like, oh, okay. And this time she said it, and I was like, oh yeah, I do remember that. And then I'm like, you've been running over rooftops and jumping and falling, and I don't know. I mean, even just the running. I mean,
Like
yeah.
that first night she gets there with Vince is when she's like in the bathroom. You can see she's like putting water over her mouth like she just threw up or whatever. And the
mhm.
next day she signs up to do a train heist, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a bit impressive there, because clearly it's something she was excited and happy about.
mhm.
But I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to pay the bills, but you know, train heist when pregnant. Ugh.
Well,
I
if
will
she
say-
would have told Brian, would she have been sidelined? Like,
That's a
Yes.
good point. They get real
Probably.
bossy.
Probably. I remember in I remember when I watched
oh,
this
hold
movie just
on.
now.
Steven just gave like the best, like, what the F, like,
I'm
look to
sorry,
the camera.
Steven, but like when someone gets pregnant, everyone around her does instantly act like she is suddenly made of glass.
True.
Like,
We act
while I
like
am
they're made of
saying she
porcelain, and
shouldn't
don't
be
let them go
jumping,
on. Don't let them go on heists for cars in fast
that
trains.
was what I was saying. I was saying there are
I
things.
mean,
On the other hand, there are little things too. Like, I mean, they treat you like anything. Like, people freaked out when I was carrying like the lightest box. So I kind of understand not wanting that. And
talking
also,
about
she
that.
wanted to tell them properly. I get that, but I was still like, ugh, this is a lot of crazy stuff to be doing. Also, she's got to be exhausted.
in the defense of Amanda's point, my wife got told she's in shock that she was able to drive. Like, oh well, doesn't Gary just drive? Because you obviously are incapacitated to drive.
Clearly, like, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, continue on, Nick. Sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. I got the sense that Mia's telling the information that way was more so a sense of like this, if we're back in the thick of it already, people are shooting at us, I might not get another chance before like we catch a bullet somewhere. And so it was less like, hey, FYI. I think it was more of like, by the way, I'm just going to tell you because I'm trying to find the perfect time to do it. Clearly, we're already back in the middle of everything, so I'm just going to blurt out in case we die
Like,
tomorrow.
I took her telling it as like they were like, okay, we're gonna split up and do this, and she was like, no, we're not, and they were like, oh yes, Mia, we have to do it. And she's like, no, this is it. This is why we are not doing this for your family. Thanks to them for listening to any other opinion of her, but the baby apparently makes it a stronger opinion.
you have something important to say, just randomly drop
Because
you and
I
the
mean,
baby going first.
we know at least Dom
Yeah.
will do whatever he thinks is best, regardless of.
Also,
Straight from
where do you
Mexico.
get a pregnancy test when you're on the run in Rio de Janeiro? How do
I
you?
feel like those
There
have
are other
gotta be
signs.
everywhere.
I thought actually that she found out she was pregnant beforehand. Because again, I was mentioning
Oh, did
earlier.
she?
I was mentioning earlier when I rewatched this for our discussion here. I watched it late in the evening, so I was almost falling asleep because I'm old. But when she
Hmm.
goes into the bathroom, Rosa, I think is her name, Vince's wife, comes in
Mhm.
and says, "How long have you known?"
Oh, I thought she said, "How does he know?"
Does he know? That's it. Does he
My high
know? So
school
she.
Spanish has been a bit.
Oh, you're good. So asking of her, does he know, like Brian? But that would mean that like Mia knows enough to know that she is pregnant. It's not like she just threw up and was like, "Oh gosh,
And
am I
found out,
pregnant?"
right?
and found out. So she knows. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they took a pregnancy test in Rio, since we see them arrive in Rio in the scene. She might have taken a test elsewhere and just known for a couple weeks. Again, I don't know the gestation periods and when Mia last ovulated, but maybe it's been 10 weeks in. Hey, I got 3, man. I'm no stranger. I know enough to know enough.
You know
You'll
too
get there.
much.
You'll get there, Gary.
No.
This podcast.
The less
welcome
I
to
know, the better.
This podcast. Welcome to Fast Five. 45 minutes in. So Mia's ovulation cycle.
There's a rail somewhere,
where
and
we
we are
lost
now off of it.
Is that on the big
That's
old
where we
card?
lost our one female listener.
Yes.
Well, and she's far enough along to be sick. That was something like that.
right.
Before I had gotten pregnant, I wouldn't have questioned. I'd been like, oh, obviously that's the trope. You're sick because you're throwing up. But now having been through it, I'm like, yeah, it takes a little bit usually. So like she's far enough in to be that, which means I don't know. It sounds like they just got there. So she's perfectly fine to fly, but she just went internationally and,
Right.
I don't know. Did you get like whatever vaccinations and stuff you needed before you got there? I don't know, but some of those matter too, depending on what
Yeah.
I have no idea for sure.
Also,
Yeah.
what's the occurrence of food poisoning in that country? As someone who gets
True.
food poisoning and I live in the U.S., I'm curious.
Well, and if you're used to different foods too, it the biggest thing is usually just not really changing your routine.
What's next?
So we move on. to
Anyway,
basically, the Hobbs's crew is at that GT40 that's all taken apart, and they're working on putting it back together there, and they want them to put it back completely together here, which is apparently these guys know how to put together a car too.
That's what you got to do when you're in the diplomatic security service.
I was gonna say, all standard DSS agents know that. Come on. Just continue to
Ridiculous.
raise the ire of Steven here.
and apparently just those two know how to do it, and somehow Hobbs knows enough to bitch about a GPS in the car. Like, whatever.
Hmm. He could tell it didn't fit.
Right.
And then we
He
jump.
just looked at it and he knew.
He just knew. And we jump back to Dom and Brian have the conversation out on the balcony there in the favela, another location there, talking about parents and fatherhood and stuff like that, and then talking about planning one last job together here to take all of the money. Go ahead, Steven.
This is officially where this movie becomes Ocean's 11, The Fast and the Furious. I remarked on this to Amanda. It is incredible how much this movie mirrors Ocean's 11 when you compare both movies side by side. It is incredible.
Do you mean the George Clooney one or the Rat Pack one?
I mean the George Clooney one. I ain't
I
no doing
scoffed
stuff
at
with
him, but
mafia.
as he started listing the things, I was like, oh wow, yeah, actually.
I also noticed as I'd recently watched Ocean 11 with George Clooney, between George Clooney and Brad Pitt, there's a conversation of like, oh, we're gonna need, and they list off these like weird code names
And
of
the
like
biggest Ella Fitzgerald that
job
you ever did
titles.
see.
And Fast and Furious goes a little less over the dock, and it's like, we need somebody who can talk his way out of anything. We need somebody who can blend in any crowd. I don't remember what Tweedledee and Tweedledum can do, but
Blow
They can
stuff
drive
up.
into a wall or there and blow stuff up. Because I wrote down what each person
They're
has
the
there.
Mormon twins. They are the Mormon twins.
I don't get that reference.
It is from Ocean's 11. The Mormon twins are the ones that always are constantly bickering with each other in every scene that you see them in, which is kind of funny. And then in
I
this,
love them.
every scene that you see those two, Tweedledee, Tweedledum, I don't know what their names are. They're always bickering with each other. Even in the last movie when you first saw them, they're bickering, and so it's just another Ocean's 11.
does
thing.
anyone know, are they a comedy duo? Because even the director said that he didn't ever record them separately. Like, they were always filmed together, even if they weren't in the frame together, and he always had multiple cameras because he felt like those two were funniest when they were just like riffing off one another. Also, the director said that he asked them to reduce the, like, they'd say lines in English. They're like, no. It's much more funny to listen to them bicker in Spanish.
I enjoyed them quite a bit. I loved them. They were great.
I liked them too. I have no idea what their names were at all.
No, neither do I.
But yeah, to
Yes,
run-
I'm glad that everyone else caught the Ocean's 11 heavy-handed Ocean's 11 vibe.
totally. So to get everyone's name there was Han the Chameleon, Roman was the fast talker, Tej was the tech guy, which put a weird asterisk next to that one because I don't remember anything from 2 indicating he was handy with tech. Those
He was
two guys,
he
he was a
he ran
mechanic.
the circuit, they said, or something like that. I
Yeah,
thought. But
but
yeah.
yeah, those two brother guys, there were like explosives running into a wall type people, and then Giselle was weapons, and Brian and Dom were the two crack drivers.
I still reserve
And
my
then
right
they
to
didn't
say
give Mia a job. Like, in all of that, they didn't even give Mia a job. She's
she's pregnant. She will be damaged. You can't let her do anything.
she can handle the radios and maybe run a laptop computer.
At the same
It's
time.
Leo and Santos, by the way. Leo and Santos.
I looked it up too. I just didn't tell you guys.
I was
Thank you.
busy I was googling what the different roles were from Ocean's 11. Rusty says, off the top of my head, you're gonna need a Boski, a Jim Brown, a Miss Daisy, 2 Jethros, and a Leon Spinks. Not to mention the biggest Ella Fitzgerald ever.
And as I said, like, at least in this movie, like, they explain what they are instead of
At
like
least in this movie,
just
no.
dropping.
That is why
code names.
Ocean's 11 is a superior movie because it trusts the audience to have more than 5 brain cells.
Shots fired.
Whoa! Now somebody's
Uh-huh.
just
Yeah.
now you're just making fun of Tyler and insulting his number of brain cells.
I'm not for sure
But-
why I'm catching strays on this one, but whatever.
I won't necessarily do it with as much zest as Steven, but I do agree that Ocean's 11 plays to a much more perceived intelligent crowd.
And as I'm sure for Steven's sake, it's also a little more like physics is a little more accurate. There's less things to pull him out of it right away. But not
Ocean's
entirely
11
Steven.
like
There's a lot
doesn't
of
give a
plot
F
armor.
about. Ocean's 11 has a lot of like logistical plot armor and like a lot of like, oh, all this stuff's happening and all perfectly in situations where there's absolutely no way it could go this way. Anyway, but we don't need to talk about Ocean's 11 and why it's terrible. We can just stick with this movie and why it's okay.
Again, like I said earlier, it's either a heist movie or it's an action movie. It's hard to be both. Ocean's 11, strong heist movie, right? There's no car chases. There's not really massive explosions and, people just duking it out like Dom and Hobbs. That's a different type of movie. So
And we get into they get into the planning stage where they talk about it's going to be about $100 million. They're about 11 million for each person, and they got to try and
Some
get them.
funny lines as each of the people come in too. When are you going to give Martin Luther King his car back? Same time
Oh.
you're going to give Rick James his coat back. That was pretty funny. But also one of the things that Amanda and I noticed as Han walks into the scene, it's just Han looks cool wherever he goes. He has
does.
just such a natural coolness about him.
He
Says
does,
less.
true.
He's a presence, and he's just in the background, and he's just like not bringing. Yeah, he's cool. He still has a shitload of plot armor. Speaking of people with plot armor,
I don't know what you mean. He's not dead yet.
Yeah, he's still got to
I'm-
make it to Tokyo at some point.
Right?
timeline, he's not dead yet. So
So I know there's I think there's a bunch of stuff that goes on here, and I just did not really do too much writing down of anything here because there's just it's a bunch of just quips and stuff like that. Them kind of observing where everything is, and then
Planning things. How are you going to do this? What are we going to like? Oh, are you going to steal one? If you're going to steal one of them, then blah, blah, blah. No, we're going to steal them all. Well, if you steal one, then they're all going to move it all. And that's part of the plan. And like, oh, cool. Well, this seemed, and I like the part about, well, this seems personal. And I don't do personal. Personal's not good for business. And he's right. Personal's very bad for business. And starts walking on, well, it's going to be $100 million. And obviously, Mr. Hungry turns around immediately when he hears
stops.
that.
yeah, I had a question on that too. What's the I couldn't remember, and I didn't go back to look at it. What's the difference between the previous jobs, like money we've seen in these movies? Is $100 million a huge jump? I mean, obviously, 15 years down the road or whatever it's been, that doesn't seem
Wasn't
like
it-
a ton of money to us these days. But I couldn't remember what was the heist with the last few things we've seen them go after.
I think it was 9 million for VCRs, wasn't it? How many? I think it was 9 million. I wrote it down. Hold on. Let's go look
Okay.
at my notes.
It's not
Wait,
a
I
big
wanted to
deal. But
just
again,
confirm
when I
inflation.
heard that, I was
Let's
like,
confirm
I thought
inflation,
that'd be
Gary.
higher.
Wait, Gary, was the 9 million your random number you came up with after trying to search a bunch of model numbers of the stuff that you saw in the movie?
No.
sounds like
Okay,
Gary.
okay. Sorry, I lied. I found the notes from the first movie. The one heist in the first movie was 1.2 million, bringing their total to $6 million. There you go.
Yeah. Again, 6 million might be smaller potatoes to someone who would be FBI worthy crimes now. But even like when this Fast 5 movie came out, I was thinking $100 million. I was like, I know that seems like a huge amount of money, and it is. Don't get me wrong, that's more money than I'll ever touch in my lifetime. But it just seems like that's a small amount for the largest cartel drug dealer in a major continent on city to have.
I actually did think the same thing.
I don't know
That's
what the number would
maybe
be.
that's
but
the
yeah.
hard cash that he has available. Maybe everything else is more. Because I agree with you, but maybe everything else is
Liquidated,
put in
yeah.
either liquid or it's actually solid. It's solid stuff. It's buildings, it's infrastructure, it's owning people,
be.
all that sort of junk. I agree with you, but I don't know. That seems like a reasonable idea to me.
I can get behind that. He's got a diverse portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
He diversified with stocks and bonds.
Stocks and bonds.
Attention. Okay.
And then they go on to the first of these raids here.
Yeah.
Pull the Joker and burn the money.
Okay, I want to point out that when they go in there, every single woman is in her underwear. Every single woman.
That's got a legit. If you're not
Yes.
familiar, I say. Do you want to say it, Amanda, or I can?
No, you go ahead, but I know what this is too, because I asked
I
the
have-
same thing when I watched this movie.
Forget
first
which movie it was, but there's a couple movies that talk about that, and there's a movie that I've seen that highlights it, and it says that typically the handlers and typically women, I don't know if they can be more easily like threatened just because they're, I don't know, have a smaller physique or what it is, but usually the handlers who touch the money are in next to nothing for garments because then they have no pockets to hide the money or try and sneak something away in.
Oh, okay.
And
Which
so it's a
honestly
legit
made a lot
thing.
of sense. Yeah.
There's no way that they could accidentally like pocket something and try and sneak off with it or double cross anybody because they're literally exposed bare. But yeah, if you have no idea, that would be very odd just to see.
Well, I will say
Hmm.
no one was in granny panties. Everyone was in Victoria's Secret. So
Yeah, of course, you don't want your handlers to be, I'll go. I can't even say that. This is
Well, and
cruel.
Steven, if you're aware others are going to see it, you're going to dress a little nicer too.
yeah,
Yeah,
when you're
right.
going down to the favela.
Mhm.
Exactly. Going to work, honey. Just taking off all your clothes. All right.
Yeah, but then he goes.
I don't
that's
want to
what I-
wear what all the other girls are wearing. I want to wear some nice clothes to work.
Yeah, Betty was wearing the same stuff I was wearing, but no, I agree with Tyler though. It is as that he burns the stuff. I shouted out, "Everything burns." It's not about money. It's about sending a message.
Sending a message. Is
Hmm.
that money? I had a question. Is that money part of the 100 million? Because I mean, like,
That's-
if you're
I thought the same exact
if
thing.
you're I mean, don't get me
Hopefully
wrong.
not.
Again, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's a huge chunk of change sitting there, right? I don't know if it's
Yeah.
in hundos or what, but that's a good chunk of change you're just burning from everybody else. And you,
Do you know
you
what would
want to make an
almost
omelet,
have
you got to
made
crack
more
some
sense?
eggs. But
It would almost have made more sense if they stole this money and used all this money as the stuff that they buy all the stupid things with later on
yes,
that they can't really justify how they get it.
right. I mean,
Uh,
you're driving however many runs at the facility to practice dodging the cameras. You got to pay for gas down there somehow, right?
Gas ain't cheap.
Right. And tires with all their drifting.
Right.
in the director's explanation, he said that there was a scene where maybe Roman stole one bundle of cash to pay for all this stuff, and he was like, "Yeah, that's just too much explanation. Let's just leave it as like just they have this stuff." Tyler,
Yeah, there is this weird like couple of camera shots to Roman in the area where they're taking the money and stuff like that. It's like they just randomly cut to Roman twice, and it's just like, what? What's he got to do? It looks like he's kind of concerned that they're burning all of this money or whatever. But yeah, Nick. Nick, did you have something?
you're muted.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I did not.
Okay.
Good job.
So then, yeah.
Technology.
So then, yeah, we get into kind of the montage of the planning and everything like that. Like, there's a little bit. It's more than a montage, really, but they're going out doing different things. Like they're getting cars to practice driving around this police station garage to try and avoid the cameras. They somehow order in an exact copy of the giant safe somehow, and then
So
They have a magical RC car that can get out of a file folder box, land on its wheels, and have a 4K camera mounted on top of it.
yeah. Well, and it doesn't have any roll bars, so I don't understand like what does it happens if it rolls and it falls on the top. Whatever.
Screwed.
But what my confusion was, and maybe they explained this and I just didn't catch it. Why is driving a car really fast not going to be picked up by the cameras?
I think it's about the angles that the cameras are tilted. So if like you do it fast enough, you avoid the camera turning the direction that you're coming from. Is their thought.
Okay.
To me, it's like that's a really stupid idea, but
Yeah,
Fast
at
and
first
Furious.
And the
trying-
timing that you'd literally need to know when the camera is going left and when it's going right.
Which is why, I mean, I think at this point in time,
That's why they
though,
broke in to figure out the.
yeah, they've tapped into the security system.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Another,
just-
by the way, Ocean's 11.
True.
Yeah. Until Steven pointed it out, I hadn't caught it the first time.
after they burn the money, the first thing that they see is all the different safe houses consolidating their money, and they realize from across the way at another rooftop they're consolidating the money to a police headquarters, and they find out that the police in town are all corrupt, and Reyes has them, and he's got this gigantic F-off safe. I wrote down when Tej, again, suddenly Mr. Tech, is looking at this safe, he says, no matter how much I love her, no matter how much I caress her, she still ain't going to give up that ass. Talk about how ridiculous that safe is. And they reference, too, because this is important when we get to the end talking about this movie, they say it's a 10-ton safe.
Mm-hmm.
How many pounds is 10 tons? Somebody do that math real quick.
10 times 2,000 is what? 20,000?
20,000 pounds.
How much
Two of your
torque do you
mothers.
pull?
Your mother on a
Oh,
scale and then
jeez.
double it.
Nice.
Shots
What
fired.
is
How
what is the
much- how much
momentum
torque
needed
can a
to
car
drag
Yeah, right.
20,000 pounds? Let's find that out.
So yeah, and then all those awesome things that we just mentioned about the RC car and reviewing it, and somehow they were able to get the exact same.
Save.
Oh,
And
during
they-
this scene, by the way, Amanda took it upon herself to insult me when Roman is going in there and doing the
Did I?
fast talking, all that stuff, and he's trying to talk to this guy, and he's
Yeah.
oh yeah, what do you do? What do you bench? Like 300, 350? And Amanda looks at me and goes, yeah, how much do you bench? And just looks back at the TV. I'm like,
Shade.
or
Oh gosh.
I did not realize that that was that sick of a burn. Seriously, he's not over it. It was funny because they were like, "What do you bench?" And I'm like, "Why do people always think that's what do you bench? What do you bench? How do you guys know that number off the top of your head?"
The bar. I bench the bar.
Ditto.
Do the old Cheeto curl there.
And and Steven is so much stronger than me, so it always really is hilarious to me that he gets offended when I make that kind of joke because I'm like, you are so much stronger than me, so it's funny that you think I'm honestly like insulting your. I'm sorry that I insulted your manly muscles or whatever I did.
here's a question: did we skip the non-actual? Did we skip the scene where they go out and they get a fast car?
It's all kind of
10
coming.
second
Like
car?
I was talking about this as just kind of a montage of them doing different
Okay.
parts of the heist stuff here. So we were kind of
Cool.
the next one I think kind of was going out to getting the fast cars.
And
That's
they
the
and the
zoom in on the
director
dancing girls.
talked about how he made a decision not to show a race.
That is
Like, he's
exactly
just like,
what I
they
was gonna talk
won.
about. This
They
is
won.
Fast and Furious. If there is one thing it's going to show me is going to be a race, and it doesn't show me a race. And I thought I was just like,
Doesn't show you a
racing the
race
cop cars later.
yet.
there is one race in this entire movie, and it is not even a race that matters.
What are you talking
And
about?
so
Like
I
$4
do wanna
million
ask
was
maybe-
on the line.
yeah.
Like,
Well, I
Again,
want to ask real quick: is this the start of a change in the movie series where it stops being about racing and cars and starts being about action heroes and action figures?
It's
Yes.
it's Nick's got it right.
The
there. It's
Rock
about the
makes a
sliding scale.
The Rock makes a joke about how the vehicles don't have underglow, neon lights, and all this other stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, like they're making fun of their past, but they're completely different direction now. I don't think they ever go back. Spoiler alert.
like the
Is it
back of
really-
a car. Spoiler. I get it. That's a good one, Gary.
Is it really a spoiler alert, Gary, if you preface that with I think?
Maybe.
But like getting to the big scene there where they're at the car meetup there where they get their first that Porsche car there. I think is this where the big dumb meetup happens, or is that no? That's like later when Dom meets
Later. Yeah. They're meeting this
They go
crew
there-
and this driver, this other person this time. The next time they loop him in as like a on their thing.
The Macho Stare Down comes later. That's what it was.
Nacho stare down.
We got to talk about the macho stare down when it does come because I have notes about that.
Samesies. Yeah.
They blow up some
Question mark
toilets there as part
That's
of the
gross.
plan.
Apparently, in
That is-
movie land, there's lots of conversations about what the consistency of shit needs to be for, like, it's just a special effects question of like, what do you need it to be? What consistency? How fine is it? And they decided that the only way it paid off is because it's the same guy that Roman talked to earlier. Like, that's what made it like
funny.
a little more funny, is that it was a character you knew about and already. I don't know if you didn't like him. Like, Roman is just a weird dude, so it's just like someone that Roman talked to who's just doing their job, and you're like, well, he's gonna be the butt of this joke.
Yeah.
And then the other part of the montage is they need to get a handprint from Reyes to open the vault.
Yep.
And,
We have a sexy Gal Gadot scene.
yes. We could all use more
Okay, but
sexy
how
Gal
did they
Gadot
get it off
scenes.
cloth? Am I missing
That's-
something here?
Amanda and I
The
were talking about
director
that when we
admits
looked
that
at
it's
Gal Gadot's
not
butt.
feasible.
It was like, if that was the case, then law enforcement personnel would do that today. Like,
So the only thing that we could come up with is if she coated her butt before she went up there with some
Mhm.
sort of residue or
She would
something
have
like
to.
that.
and
Because
she would
they
have
hit
to
the-
know.
Well, they shine. So again, hang with me here. In National Treasure, they do the fingerprint lifting off
Yes.
the keyboard.
I did
But they-
think of that.
They coat his fingers first with something, because then when they hit it with the black light, your fingers glow.
Yeah.
Human fingerprint oil doesn't just naturally glow under black light. So
They
to,
put
like,
it on a
shine-
glass and they gave it to
Yeah.
her, and then they took her
then-
finger so that she
I
would
want to
then
point out that
carry it.
we should not be using National Treasure as
No,
a.
agreed.
Okay,
that's historically accurate, Steven.
Steven, which one's more
Historically
accurate? National Treasure or Fast and Furious 5? Tell me which one. Which one it disturbs you
hurtful.
on the Steven scale of accuracy?
No.
Steven scale of
No.
accuracy.
No, you backed
Answer the
Steven
question.
into a corner.
I did not back myself into this corner. I
Error.
will not answer this. This is a soul
Error
rending
404.
question.
I'll let you think about it, but I want an answer eventually. It can be next podcast if you want.
Anyways, Gal Gadot
Yeah.
covered her ass with some glow-in-the-dark paint,
She would
and then
have to.
let someone grab her ass.
And then
Yes,
left it
to
on
get
the
the
what? The
handprint.
fabric? It's not. You're just.
Which-
It's a terrible
Yeah,
surface.
how does it? I'm assuming if you have a hand scanner, it's going to take all your fingerprints. It's going to take your handprint. I don't think Gal Gadot's ass is going to keep that much.
How
of
did she get
that
it
detail.
on?
Have you ever seen it? Are you sure?
I just
How
saw
did
it right now when I was watching the movie. Come on, man.
How'd she get it on and off without like messing it up? I don't know. There's gonna be.
Well,
I
also
don't agree.
too.
This
too,
is
I
not the
mean,
hill I'm gonna die on.
Suspend
Yes,
that
it is,
logic.
Gary.
Suspend that logic.
Like, also too, he doesn't palm and then freeze
Did he just
to get
slap
the
that
perfect
ass, or
placement.
did he just?
He kind of caressed it a little bit. I mean, wouldn't that jack up your fingerprints and smear everything?
So I thought about that as well. I don't think because this is a PG-13 movie, I don't think they could have shown, like, if you're a drug lord and you have a hot girl sit on you, you're not just gonna gingerly, whatever. You're probably just gonna grab that ass, and that's maybe where that's coming from. You just can't show it as a PG-13 movie.
Steven,
Sure.
you can't just be insulting all drug lords like that. You shouldn't be stereotyping
You're right.
them.
Not
like
all
that.
drug lords. I'm sorry.
Also,
not
I
all
don't
drug
think
lords.
Steven is an expert on PG-13 movies.
I don't think he's an expert on drug lords
I'll
either.
throw that out there.
That's a fair statement, Gary.
I have a PhD in drug lord criminology. So yeah, okay. So again, like Gary said, the director himself admits that that's not plausible.
The director
But you
admitted
needed
a lot of
something
stuff
to
is not
do,
plausible.
and it gave those two some sort of, I don't know, their
Great.
own scene to kind of
Bond.
brew over.
Ooh, yeah,
Bond,
and
yeah.
that scene too with them. She also calls out that he used to be a pack-a-day smoker, unfiltered, is what she says.
Oh, yeah.
And that I totally spaced that part of their conversation where they kind of bonded over that, because
And he
I
calls
even
out that
commented,
he's former military.
yeah, Mossad, which is the Israeli form of government, which is spot on because Gal Gadot is
Yeah,
Israeli.
she was. Yeah,
Yep.
she served 2 years in it.
Is that required in that country?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
required
it
in
is.
Israel.
But like I had mentioned in the Tokyo Drift review that it's just odd that Han's always eating something. Like I didn't know if it was a character trait or if that's just something that he as an actor came up with. But yeah, that actually ties into that. So it was interesting that that was brought up in this sense. It's like, oh, that's why he's always doing that. He needs to have his hands doing something to be distracted. Speaking of hands that are distracting, Gary.
Oh, okay. So Justin Lin and the guy who played Han did a movie before Tokyo Drift, where in that movie Han was a pack-a-day smoker, and so the joke is that that character from that movie was the same person as Tokyo Drift, and so that's why he's always eating in Tokyo Drift, was because he was a recovering pack-a-day smoker. So this is like the payoff to the long-running joke that he used to be a pack-a-day smoker in the extended universe where it's the same character as a random other movie.
That's right. Pert Hapley exists in this universe.
I don't know who that is.
Watch Parks and
And
Rec.
that is unfortunate.
Here's a
Hmm.
question for you before we get off of, and Tyler, you might know this, before we get out of this scene. I noted when we went to the race scene that we kind of moved over, that we get out of the car, and it immediately, I told Amanda this, it shows an AE equipment on a girl's ass, and an AE equipment on Brian's shirt. A whole bunch of product placement for this AE equipment, and I don't know what AE equipment is.
I have no idea. I'm thinking it's just some car culture branding.
Okay.
I'm gonna, yeah. Maybe I feel like
Honestly,
you're doing
there's not a lot of like heavy car culture branding in this movie.
No, actually, one of the bigger ones that I saw was Under Armour, actually, that they were product placing.
The Rock is always in Under Armour.
There's a
Rock
year,
and his team, his entire team, are always in Under Armour gear.
and there's
interesting.
a year one mat in Ludacris's shop too. Year one's a
I
big
saw year
car.
one.
What's that?
It's
It's a car part manufacturer,
Okay.
I think, or something to do with cars. Or
Steven, to explain Under Armour, The Rock is also wearing Under Armour in the special features.
Is he really?
Like that was what
Wow.
I caught, was like, oh
He
yeah,
was
he's wearing
paid by
Under
Under
Armour. I was
Armour.
like, oh yeah, he even reps it in the special features.
Fair enough. I did see that, and I remarked on that to Amanda when they were showing the DSS agents, and I was like, that's strange that they let the DSS agents just wear, Under Armour garb instead of anything, that would be produced for the whatever they're doing. But hey, whatever you do, you bro.
it's hot in Brazil. Okay, that's why The Rock is just constantly sweating and glistening.
He is sweating constantly.
As I told you before, he is not sweating. He is a natural sheen. He wakes up like that.
And puts on a gallon of baby oil. Got it.
Hide your baby oil.
The Rock, if you're listening, please don't come kill me. So after basically they all get pinged on the network there that they've identified Dom and all of his crew members and stuff like that. They're
Been burned.
there. Thank you. They talk about how Hobbs is Old Testament. He's gonna come get you and all that stuff. And then we move to the next car culture meetup thing with the big stare down between Dom and Hobbs. And Steven, he has his point he wants to talk about. So please go ahead.
The number one thing that I noticed in this stare down between The Rock and Vin Diesel was that Vin Diesel is slightly shorter in the show that in what they show here. Vin Diesel is 6 foot tall, which I never knew I was taller than Vin Diesel, but apparently I'm taller than Vin Diesel. And The Rock is 6'4". Like that would be a significant height gap, and they do edit that height gap a little bit here to make it so that Vin Diesel is only slightly shorter than The Rock.
I also highlighted some of these differences in my notes too. I was curious because this is very clearly a Vin Diesel movie and Hobbs is playing a character antagonistic to him if they went out of their way to make him seem not equipped to take on Vin Diesel or Dom. It just seemed odd. The height difference, like they're staring at each other. Dom seems cool and calm, and like Hobbs is doing crazy eyes, like I'm gonna get you.
Yep.
I'm gonna get you, and glistening sweat, just like seems completely unhinged. Like I can't take this heat. I'm gonna fail. It's like the meme of the guy who's just got sweat pouring down his face, and Dom is just not even sweating at all. And
It seems
both of them in theory have just gotten here. It's not like Dom is well acclimated or anything.
well, it seems very personal for The Rock. Like it almost seems like they were shaping this up to be like Vin Diesel did something to The Rock's family, or I don't know what it would happen to be, or maybe they killed one of the DEA agents was his best friend, or something like that. But he's very, very personally attached to this scene, and I agree with you. It seems like they're just making him out to be some rookie cop with a grudge.
Just names on a list. He just bags them and tags them.
Gary's right. His name's just showed
My
up on this
second
list.
thought here, my second thought here was this special super agent and his team of crack blah blah blahs was able to identify exactly where Dom was, but decided to take them in the middle of a giant like exhibition. Not, I don't know, hey, got eyes on him, watch him. When he leaves, we're taking him. Like, would that be the better play there? Maybe, but that doesn't give us the Ultra Showdown.
He's a professional criminal, so let's snag him when he's surrounded by 100
Right?
other people.
Also, he gave specific instructions to not try to get them when they're in a vehicle. So it was intentional. Also, I think the line is not a second more or a bullet less. He just needs to get them.
But why? For what reason? That's why I'm getting back to the personal stuff. Like, why does
He's
he
an
need to get
elite
them?
agent who just gets the names on the list and he doesn't spend a second more or a bullet less to just like bring them back to justice, and he doesn't care if they're guilty or not. He just needs to collect them, bring them back, and then he gets the next name on the list. He's a professional bounty hunter who works for
Completion.
an imaginary section of government, apparently.
Completion is his whole motivation. It's a job. Job's gonna get done.
Anyway,
But yeah, just odd. Macho stare down. I also in
Then
that
we have also. Oh, sorry.
sorry, one last little thing too. Was it just me, or when Dom is like, "This is Brazil," he kind of like leans into the accent.
Yes,
I
I mean,
do.
very much. I was going to bring that exact thing up.
He's got a very like, I mean, he's from California, right? Is where they're living. It's not like he's like heavily Latino. I mean, it's implied that he's got the background, but he's like, "Yo, I'm Dom,
Nick,
but welcome to Brazil."
he's brown, and as you know, as everyone knows, they're all exactly the same, right?
Vin Diesel is actually
Like-
from New York, but I guess based on the character, he is the character's based in California, I guess. So that's technically correct.
Yeah. I know
my boy-
Nick brings up a good point though, and that's exactly what I was going to bring up as well. Is he leans into the Brazil, and apparently this got negative reviews from Brazilians because the accent was so bad, and it
Interesting.
just apparently there was a bunch of Brazilian accents in this movie that were fairly not good, and it just goes maybe a little bit more meta here, but it does go to show that the Hollywood complex maybe doesn't necessarily discriminate between, as I said, different brown people. They're all just others to them, and you can replace one with one, and it's fine.
I forgot they had a different location. That it wasn't all shot in Brazil. It was shot in
Georgia.
Costa Rica or something, somewhere out. Puerto Rico. I think it's Puerto. I don't know. But anyway, not all of the scenes were shot in Brazil. Like obviously, a lot was shot in the U.S. and Arizona. The train scene was shot in like Arizona. So like, obviously, it wasn't all shot in Brazil. So who knows if that scene was even shot in Brazil?
So then we move on to Dom showing up at Elena's apartment there to get back his $20 of silver, which the necklace holds a significance for Dom there. But Gary,
what the
go
kids are
ahead.
calling it these days.
I just noticed that he sets the gun down on the way out, and then she walks directly to where he was standing. So she's standing right next to where the gun should be, based on bad movie like geometry, and still just lets him walk out the door. Like, that's what broke it for me, was like, he set the gun down, but like he didn't empty the clip, he didn't like he set it down, and then she should have been able to grab the gun. Like, if she grabbed the gun and then let him go, that's a different story. But like, just not even acknowledging that she knows where the gun is what bothers me. Steven?
That's fair. I also noted when she gets into the apartment, she actually puts down the gun in kind of the same, let's say, relaxed fashion. She doesn't secure the gun anywhere, and she doesn't unload the gun. She just takes it out, puts it on the nightstand as one does, and it's that was interesting to me. But then, yeah, he puts it down, and she does not pick it back up, which, to be fair, I think you see the sympathy going on between them at that point. I think there's supposed to be that connection that's, happening there, but
She doesn't try and arrest him, Gary, because her heart tells her no.
and if there's one thing we know
They're
about
just
cops
two
in the Fast
broken
and Furious
hearts.
series is that they trust their heart over the law.
They're two broken ships crossing in the night.
Passing in the night.
Isn't two lonely ships? I think
It's two lonely ships passing in the night.
I don't know your analogies, and I obviously am gonna F them up, so why even try? I don't know. I was trying, like, two broken-hearted people who like could see each other's pain.
I think doesn't Dom actually have that exact line though, Gary? He's like, I didn't think, because Elena references she must have been something
Who
special
was
to
she?
you. Who was
Yeah,
she?
yeah.
She must have been special. Like that he would stay if he's had such a traumatic past, assuming it must have been a woman. And he says something too to her, like, I didn't think anyone would understand my pain. And there's something like that, but maybe you did, or accept you, or until you. So they clearly are kindred spirits.
maybe going back just slightly as well, I do wonder why they assign her to the DSS team. Obviously, they play it off as, oh, well, she's a rookie and she's not going to be able to help them and blah, 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 blah. But if you're assigning one of your own agents to the DSS team, wouldn't you want an inside person? Wouldn't you want to assign, like, your most loyal person to know exactly what they're doing at any given point in time? Gary.
He doesn't get assigned. He specifically asked for a translator, and he already knows that her husband was shot. Like, so she
that's
has no
right.
loyalty other than to the law.
I forgot about that. That's
She's
right.
the Judge Dredd of Brazil.
He, I do believe that Hobbs mentions to Elena, it's like, you couldn't be bought, could you, or something like that, when talking about her past as well. Elena's like, what am I doing here? Like, I needed somebody that wouldn't be corrupted or wouldn't be bought, because clearly he knows that half the police in Rio were working for Reyes. That's why he likes his veggies. Give me the damn veggies.
Delicious.
Delicious.
And then we get to the they decide that they need to steal some police cars as part of this heist setup there. And we get
and they barely pull a high school crime here where they just slightly vault over the fence and go pick out a car and drive it away.
Why are the police cars?
They probably leave the keys in the cars. Why wouldn't you?
Well, for one, it's hypocritical. How many times have I seen messages from our own city's police department saying, don't leave your keys in your car? So they can't do it either. Otherwise, by their logic, I deserve to be able to steal their police cars.
I also want to point out that this police department apparently had the best police cars on the face of the planet.
Yeah, they're really
Just-
nice ones.
Specifically Dodge Chargers. The director not so subtly admits that Dodge gave them 2 vehicles for this film. So of the police cars, the cost of like making a police issued Dodge Charger, they gave them 2 vehicles that could fit the specifications and parts to build another 2 vehicles.
I do know that these 4 police squad cars looked really nice. Aesthetically, they're very nice cars. But I do know that if the police have to run down somebody who's speeding or flying down the interstate, they are decked out to get up to like 120, 140.
And we get part 4 of the Dom versus Brian racing action there, with Brian winning? Question mark. Nick.
Again, I said this since the very first installment. Terrible racer Brian is terrible. He's not a good racer. He's not a crack driver.
I just don't understand how like there's all these lead changes and how somehow Han is never in the lead. Roman not only has his lights on the entire time, he also like leaves early. Like if you when I rewatched the second time, I was like, oh, he like literally leaves like 2 seconds before everyone else. And still loses.
Still loses. Neck and neck the whole way, but yeah, still loses.
With the lights and the sounds blazing too.
Yeah, nobody notices driving out of the impound lot.
I thought that was true personality. I liked that.
And somehow one of these cars is able to beat the other ones when they're all the same car. I guess it's
not the
all
car, Tyler. It's the
all,
driver.
It's all about the driver. Yep.
Also, for the one race scene, I can't remember if I checked off excessive shifting, because technically you get to watch 2 different people shifting. So I was like, each person only gets 1 shift. So is that excessive? I don't know.
It's up to you.
Yeah. So what is your opinion on the race? Because I know in previous races, I think it was 2, the race I like, which is lots of like CGI going from car to car. This race has some of that, where like it goes from like one car and then it kind of like via VFX like goes to another car in another direction. Steven?
I still think it was a little jumpy myself. A lot of cuts and a lot of I didn't understand what was happening, who was where, when was why, and how these things took place. I still think a one shot on one of these things would be super cool to watch.
Just no cuts, straight action.
Yeah. Well, and just so you could actually see the cars moving around. Like, I get you have to identify them somehow, give them different color cars, whatever. But a one shot of this super racing that they're supposed to be doing, that would be cool to watch.
That would be super fucking unrealistic. Impossible. I'd say probably near impossible. Because they try to do as many of the crashes in practically, like all the vehicle rolls are practical. But anytime you see someone driving a vehicle, it's not an actor. So like the fact they have to show actors' faces would never happen. If you had a one shot, it would just be a bunch of nameless, underpaid stunt actors driving back and forth, and you'd never be able to see in the cockpit.
Okay,
it'd just be like
there are ways that good movie directors can go around this. And you can do this like they did in 1917, where you had different sections of it cut off, and you'd have like a pole pass through, and that pole ended the scene, but it looked like it was still going in a one shot sort of thing. Like you can
camera tricks. You're talking about camera tricks rather than virtual effects.
Yeah. camera tricks. I mean, even if you want to do visual effects, just make it
Practical.
so it's just one scene. I don't even necessarily care exactly how much CGI you need to put into this. Maybe pixelate someone's face onto the drivers. I don't care. But show the cars
They
from
get to play
beginning
that game
end.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like I've heard rumors about that.
They play that game later.
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert.
Gary just can't contain himself.
Steven just like he
Threw
put
it
it on
out
a
there.
T-ball post. Like I can't not
Control
swing
yourself,
at
sir.
it.
Control yourself.
Yeah, it's called self-control, Gary.
Have you ever known me to have an inch of that? An ounce? A gallon? I don't know another unit of measure. That's all I got.
Gary's run out. Okay, got it. So then we get to basically like they're back there. They're kind of talking about what they would do with the money and everything like that. And we learn Tej wants to open up a garage, a cheap garage apparently. But then we get to the big thing that like builds now towards the whole use of the word family throughout the series. This is what they're known for. Is Dom has this big toast there about the people in this room or your family there and everything like that. Talking about the bond that this crew will now form and all of that.
They're playing off the making a barbecue that earlier when they were talking about their dads, Dom had mentioned every Sunday his dad had a barbecue, and if you didn't go to church, you didn't get any barbecue. Otherwise, it was open for the whole neighborhood. Have we seen a family barbecue aside from the very first movie?
I don't think so.
I was trying to think when that reference came out. We've seen that before in these movies, but I when I went back and thought about it, I thought the only time we'd seen it maybe might have been in one. Steven?
Does the crash in Tokyo Drift with count
With what?
as a barbecue?
Oh, barbecue.
Oh.
Burn.
I'm so annoyed that you made that joke.
I think that totally counts. Hands down.
Well, I guess there is
It's
a
a family barbecue.
There is technically a barbecue going on in this scene here where they're grilling the meats and those two guys are
Yeah.
bickering back and
Mm.
forth about overcooking it.
That's the reference. Is like when the family gets together, they have a barbecue.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I assume it was Foster's because Corona does not appear in this movie. I had to Google it. Apparently, it's maybe specifically a Brazilian beer.
I thought it wasn't Corona they were drinking.
Foster's?
Barham and Antarctica?
Foster's is
Both
Australian.
popular
beer.
Brazilian
Yeah,
beers.
Brazilian.
I don't know.
I think Gary's
Foster's
just
is
using the
really-
word Foster's because he doesn't know anything else besides Corona.
Right?
I don't know. I didn't do any pause worthy of like I was like just the beer labels as they're coming by, but like they very much like I thought it was probably a fake beer brand because like there's a point where Roman is bringing beers over and all three beers he's holding are labeled back, like
Mm-hmm.
so. No Corona, and the Google also tells me that Corona does not pay to be in Fast and Furious movie.
It's free advertising now. They've already ruined it. It's like when we
Mhm.
keep talking about Nas and Corona here, they're not going to come sponsor us anymore. We're just advertising for
Which
free.
they can, but they can.
But they totally
If you're-
could, yes.
I
If you're
could
the s-
totally drink another Corona if we were sponsored.
Only we had the money for a sponsorship.
If you're the
The money
SoCal
from a sponsorship.
if you're the SoCal anti-hero, by all means use our product. But if you're the favela gun-toting criminal, no.
I don't know if Nick was trying to make a joke there. I don't know.
A little bit.
Anyways, we get moving on then, and it's to the next day where they're getting ready to go out to do basically the heist. And Hobbs shows up, and Steven has a question. Or
We did
point.
skip something,
Sure.
and we skipped Oh, I'm gonna forget his name. The guy that I don't like.
That narrows it down.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really does.
it's the white guy who was part of the family, and then they meet him in Brazil. What's his name?
Vince.
Vince. Vince saves Mia in the what looks like basically a
Market.
bazaar
In the
out there.
market.
Yeah, in the market. Because he just somehow knows that they're gonna come get Mia, and everyone goes back to, and they're having this barbecue thing, all that sort of stuff. And I think, is it at this point in time where he asks to be part of the crew?
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Does it explain exactly how he knows that they were going to get Mia?
I don't think
I was
so.
gonna ask if the same tracker that the local ruffians have is the same tracker that Vin Diesel or the Rock's team has. Because that's what on the rewatch, I was like, well, maybe Rock actually figured out via tracking where they're at, and then the local gang, oh yeah, they have this information, but they're not attacking till tomorrow. Let's go murder someone right now.
Yeah, maybe. It seemed off to me. It seemed like they were setting up Vince to be the undercover bad guy with maybe a comeback story sort of thing. And
Vince confuses me.
yeah, exactly. It doesn't. I don't think this. It doesn't settle anything.
And
I don't know if the director meant to just leave that open thread hanging there and just make people go, "Hey, I wonder." But
and I
I
mean,
didn't think he was ever.
in the first movie, Brian risks everything, like literally tells them who he is in order to call in medical help for Vince. Obviously, he doesn't have the same options now. But Vince
And I
confuses
don't think
me.
it's ever been questioned that, like, even going back to the first movie, Vince had a crush on Mia. And obviously he's moved on. He's got a kid. He's got a wife. He's got a new life now. But I still sense that he still cares about Mia and still cares about Dom. He could come or go about Brian dying, but he truly does care about Mia. And even when he does double cross Dom, he doesn't specifically like put them in danger. He was just going to get the chip, return it, and probably try to buy everyone's freedom out of that. Like, because he's the one who set up the job. Like, he just needed to get the family out of this situation because they don't care about the car. They could probably sell the car to whoever, but they just need the chip. I don't know. I bought it. I didn't have a problem with it. Also, in the very short-lived heist scene that didn't exist, his job wasn't even to do anything. His job was just to sit in the base and guard Mia. Like, he wasn't doing anything. He was just like he was a bodyguard to Mia.
well, so I guess my confusion here is that they bring Vince in, and it feels like they bring him in for a purpose. And then maybe we could talk about how he ends up later, but it feels like a thread hanging in the wind that they brought too much attention to. Like, I don't know if they couldn't refilm or what happened, but
to just clarify, you're talking about the director, not the out of like the movie itself bringing Vince in, not
yes, I'm sorry. Yes, the director.
Got it. Yeah.
Like if they were gonna make Vince maybe more of an expendable character, like he turns out to be, then why are we setting him up for so many different random things? It just doesn't make much sense to me.
He had a redemption arc. He betrayed his friends, and then he came back, and he, like, when there was absolutely no reason, he saved Mia. And then he obviously he also needed the money. He was willing to kind of sort of crawl back to Dom and ask for a spot in the heist. And free food. I guess he came there for the barbecue too, but
doesn't make much sense.
I don't know. I guess I don't have as many problems with Vince. Like, I think the director said that he actually asked not to be killed off, but the director was like, no, we need to, like, kill you off. And he's like, why do actors not want to die?
Because this is going to make tons of money later on. No, it doesn't make a huge amount of sense to me. It just feels like he could have been cut out of the movie entirely, honestly, and I don't think it would have subtracted from it. Maybe I'm wrong there. But
I kind of have to agree with it. He was just kind of a extra. They needed something that was like, hey, I'm a fellow thief. We can do this together. Oh, I have inadvertently betrayed you. That's what it feels like. Sorry if I hurt your feelings.
And then we move on to Hobbs shows up at the heist location after everybody else has left, so it's just Dom, Brian, Vince, and Mia there. And Dom and Hobbs get into just a giant fucking muscle versus muscle beatdown.
I think the whole team is there.
Nope.
I think
they had left already there, and the rest of them were getting ready to leave. That's when everyone comes crashing through.
Which I want.
The director talks about how it's supposed to be symbolic that the Gurkha crushes the Charger, which is supposed to be like this emotional center for Dom, like something he really cares about. Oh, and before I miss it, also they make a quick quip about how Mia thinks that the Charger is cursed. Like, he keeps bringing it back, but it's actually a curse on Dom that follows him. Anyway, I thought it was if there's things that break it for me, it's like inexplicably just destroying a Dodge Charger because, like, you want to hurt someone emotionally. Like, that just obviously it's just a big friggin' truck that crushes into a very, very tiny vehicle.
Okay, so Steven? It makes sense to me, and at the same time, I mean, it gets back to the first of all, you don't want him driving away, so yeah, crush his getaway car. But it also, the personal thing, the personal aspect of it, it seems super, super personal to The Rock for some reason that we don't get. And again, I don't understand why. But
because he's a very intense guy.
I guess.
And it could just be as simple too as these guys are making it hard for him to do his job. So he's getting angrier and angrier about it.
So my second thing to note here, though, is there should be no real fight between The Rock and Vin Diesel. As already noted, Vin Diesel is 4 inches shorter than The Rock, is definitely not as muscled out. While Vin Diesel is a super muscle driving muscle car dude, The Rock's job is literally to kill people. This shouldn't be a fight. And it turns into the Rock, or the Vin Diesel lets The Rock live. Really?
I would agree. I put that note down too of like the fist fight and somehow Dom wins. Like, it is not realistic. However, in the special features, in the behind the scenes commentary, they make it play it off as like that it was they each have their distinct advantage, and in Dom's is that he's got something to fight for, and he's got passion, and even though he has no skill or technique, and it's like, I don't think so. I think The Rock will win 9 times out of 10. But also, as it's noted, like, Vin Diesel is a producer on this movie. Like, he is a heavy driving force in making these movies happen. So it especially knowing, spoiler alert, that Vin Diesel and The Rock don't like each other in real life, the commentaries are very notable that, like, it doesn't make sense, and I don't know if that's maybe in a later movie where they're not friends anymore, but
interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, I don't think that feud starts with this movie. I think it's more of like the next one where it really starts to kick
now
off.
I'm excited for the next movie.
And then what do we got here?
Also, the wrench was a weird bit of symbolism.
Oh,
because supposedly Dom went to jail for crushing a guy's skull with a wrench.
socket
Yeah,
wrench.
leaving him as. But
A-
real
a
quick, before
janitor.
we get to all this, and I was just looking this up as well. One of the things that Brian does say to Mia right before all this happens is Moscow, Bali, Goa, Hong Kong. What do all these places have in common? And she says, no extradition treaty. There is one city on does not have an that is Moscow. Bali is in Indonesia, which has an extradition treaty with the United States. Goa is in India, which has an extradition treaty with the United States. Hong Kong, at this point in time, has an extradition treaty with the United States.
That's what we were gonna ask.
He's gonna get them. He's gonna get their asses arrested and extradited back to the U.S. I'm just saying.
Man, they suck at looking things up, don't they?
This is so easy to look up. I don't understand.
Again, like they're being elevated to the level of like master criminals who have broken out of jail. Again, like 5 years, 10 years ago, they were just like Southern California street racing kids. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, this is easy to look up, but they're not like, again, to your point, Stephen, like Hobbs is a militant, well-trained individual, masterclass in taking down criminals for whatever his background is perceived to be. Whereas, yeah, to Gary's comment, I feel like Dom would have like a street brawler's kind of crazy right hook and just throw his strength and weight into it without really having skill. But yeah, easily Hobbs should overpower him. They would have much more knowledge than they would. Maybe Brian's just riffing off different city names for places that he thinks of that they don't have extradition, but not really knowing.
I feel like it's just so easy because I mean, Dominican Republic, St. Kitts and Nevis, Micronesia, Tonga, Venezuela, Bolivia, Ecuador, all of those don't have extradition treaties with the United States. Fun fact, the majority of countries on Earth do, but those countries don't. Like,
Things that only Steven knows about, like
Mm-hmm.
not at all game breaking for me.
yeah.
Interesting.
It was a throwaway line, like, "Hey, let's find a country that we can't get extradited from." Blah blah blah. Name a country in the world that I've heard of, and we move on.
But then as
I
part
think it
of
tries to make. Oh, sorry.
nope, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it tries to make them look smart, and this is.
It only looks dumb to you. It would have looked dumber to me if they would have named a country I didn't even believe existed. Like Krakalakistan. We can go to Krakalakistan. Okay. I think that sounds like a made-up country. Cool.
Go to Agrabah.
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 I
Is
think
that not a real country? I just assumed that was a real country.
Oh my God, I'm
Look, I did think
Nope.
it was real when I was a little kid, but I figured that out quickly. School.
I've never researched this information any further to disprove it.
Okay.
So
Well,
I'm not
Westeros
ignorant.
is
I just have
also-
never seeked out this information. Anyway, moving
Westeros is
forward.
also not real, just so you know.
right. I don't know. Maybe in this list, Hong Kong is just a more prominent, well-known place to an audience. They're assuming rather than if he'd said Micronesia or something like that.
It just
It doesn't make it
it's
right.
little
I'm just saying.
things. These are directors' choices. These are screenwriters'
Oh
choices.
yeah, absolutely. Someone
make-
wrote that down. And was like, "Yep,
Mhm.
that worked."
I feel like Stevens had more time to consider his rating on the Stevens scale of not realistic. He's had more things to add to it. I feel like this one's sinking more and more unrealistic in his books.
Anyways, this all goes down, and then they apparently just put them all into a van, and I guess they're driving them. I'm not exactly sure where. And then a laser guided, I'm hoping, RPG comes out of nowhere, makes a turn, perfectly hits one of these trucks, blowing it the fuck up, and it is the we're talking about how these guys are supposed to be the expert military guys. They get absolutely just trounced by the favela gangs. Just hardcore ambush, like to the point where it makes you wonder who the actual, military
It's
experts here are.
Is it supposed to be implied that they going through unfamiliar territory, or the fact that they didn't drive through this area first? Like this wasn't the main road they took the first, like to get to there.
I don't
Yeah,
know. I don't think it says.
I'm guessing it's implied that they went down a road and the locals knew it better, or knew that that was the way they're coming back out, which is feasible, that the locals would see them go in and the road that a 2-ton Gurkha is going to take to get back out of the favelas. Is that feasible, that giant effing truck would only come out like on certain roads?
I don't even know. It seems super strange to me, shall we say? And then, I mean, obviously we have all the weapons are automatic here, including the M4s are automatic. As Nick well knows, all M4s have a full auto setting.
Tactics are
Okay.
The tactics are quite odd. Like if you know you're in an ambush, getting out to engage is not the right response. Get out of the kill zone. Right? Why would you abandon your bulletproof glass to Gurkha to try and shoot at the random people who have an elevated position to yours? That makes
Also,
no
that
sense.
you'd have a Gurkha and then 2 other vehicles that are not armed. Like, but yes, I would agree that I feel like, yeah, you'd get yourself somewhere to engage, like where you're not surrounded would be a good idea.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if as we've been discussing, if Hobbs' character's main goal is to catch his prey, like Gary said, not a minute more, not a bullet less. I've got them. They're in this, vehicle I'm in. Why do you want to stop and shoot at the random people who are taking pot shots at you? Like, leave them be. Just go. You've got what you want. Get out of there.
also, I would assume that the locals have no quarrel with the military people. They just want to murder like the 2 guys who like caused the last heist and burned the money. Like, if anything, I think you try to isolate those 2, murder them, and then everyone else you just walk away. You're just random faces in the crowd. You just walk away.
Yeah, it's not the
Nick?
locals. It's not the locals. Everybody that's shooting at them is Reyes's cartel people. The people who live in the favelas there. I don't know, maybe the criminals are local homegrown favelas people, but the criminals are the people who are hired to shoot and ambush and whatever, do what they're doing. The average poor people who just happen to live on that block and all hell erupts are probably just like terrified and hiding.
Yeah, correct. But like, I wouldn't you agree that you would just, I don't know, unless you blow up the unarmored truck and assume that that's where you'd keep the prisoners.
Well,
Steven?
I guess my question is, if you had one laser guided RPG, why don't you have 8 laser guided RPGs? RPGs are super inexpensive. Like, why isn't this everyone's shooting at them with, shotguns?
Okay, so how is it
What do you mean
laser-guided,
super
Steven?
inexpensive?
Oh, so when I say laser guided, it is RPGs are notoriously very
Inaccurate?
yes,
Okay.
and because they're literally RPG stands for rocket propelled grenade. They are not missiles. They are not guided.
Whatever. I've totally done a good several shots with an RPG.
Yes, you have. Arma. But anyways.
Oh, we're not counting video games?
No, not exactly.
Sorry.
But anyways,
then in that case,
RPGs are in fact very inexpensive. They're literally rockets put on the bottom of grenades. And if you're gonna have one at the beginning of this ambush, why don't you have 3, 4, 5? And if you're looking just to kill everyone, just blow up all their cars. I don't understand that point either. So
I don't think they're.
You're saying you just put a bomb on the road and just like let them drive over it, just boom.
yeah, you could do an IED too, I guess. Just it doesn't make sense on both sense, like and especially what Nick was saying. The response to getting ambushed as well as everyone stop, everyone get out, quick. No one find cover, stand out in the middle of the road, shoot 360 around you. Like, okay, yeah, you're crack elite team. This is why we always call them the DSS. Maybe this is why no one calls the DSS anymore. They all got, taken out in Brazil.
I didn't know any of those military tactics, but I did know that it was not great.
They tried to shout.
Anyway.
They tried shouting "Be cool," but nobody listened.
Yeah. Be cool, guys.
Just
Be
be cool,
cool.
just be
I don't have no quarrel with you. Do you want these guys? Technically, I can take a picture that says I caught them, and then they were murdered in transit. So just be cool, guys. Be cool. Be cool. The podcast listener, I am notorious for in public lobbies asking everyone just be cool. Like, we can all get out of the DMZ alive. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, most of the times we have to rescue Gary's ass.
This scene also kind of is like the turning point for Hobbs, because he sees his whole team down, at least what the scene is trying to paint. That they see Hobbs's team is down. He's all by himself. He's about to get shot. And the only person who comes to save him is Elena in the Gurkha, has released Dom and Brian.
Release the Dom.
Release the Dom. And he comes out with a shotgun, and the slow motion action scenes is that they come shooting all the bad guys who are still there attacking. And that, like, Hobbs, who lives his life by the law, is forced to then appreciate that Dom has saved him, despite all the stuff that he's tried to do to arrest him.
I didn't know what the difference was between the normal and theatrical and the extended. Apparently, this scene is part of the extended because in order to get the theatrical cut at PG-13, they couldn't have blood for this scene. So they cut out the bloody parts and made the scene less bloody to make a theatrical release.
Oh, interesting. Like when it does the quick flash over and you see his teammates laying on the ground with like their faces.
I'm guessing, yeah, it's slightly less bloody and slightly less gory.
Interesting. This presumes
they're
they're
just
down.
bruised.
They are
Yeah.
dead. They're taking a nap. They're fine.
They're just napping.
Go over and hold.
There's a lot of people in this movie that are napping.
Yep. And again, that too. Like, you see some of these movies in the previous ones we've seen, right, where it's like that car flips and rolls, and it's like nobody was harmed in this prison chase. BS. But then you go to this favela scene, there are dudes getting shot in the face, right? Point blank with machine guns. And you're just like, this is pretty graphic.
That was my question from earlier. Is this also the first of the Fast and Furiouses that really emphasizes the number of people being killed? Because everything else, it's like when you're doing a Tokyo drift scene, everyone's fine. Don't worry about it. I mean, maybe one driver gets hit, but I guess in the last one you do have a couple people get killed, but it's like not quite as many. In this one, it's like all out tons of people being killed.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the first movies where there's just I kind of even said to myself, I was like, wow, there's a lot of people that die in this movie. Go ahead, Nick.
I don't think it would have necessarily taken me out of the movie, and it's only now, like, with a clear head, not just trying to power through the movie, but like going back and analyzing scene and frames, that you think like Dom is just like the street racing younger kid. Like, now he's a little older. He's been around, but he's not a murderer. I mean, even if you're just taking out favelas guys and it's obviously shoot or be killed, you're protecting your family. It doesn't take it away from me, but like having a scene where like Dom is like, holy crap, I just machine gunned down 5 dudes, right? like, oh my gosh, their blood is on my hands. Even if they're bad dudes, you're like, I just laid waste to people, and like that's really freaking me out. Like that would have been probably more realistic, showing the trauma to his psyche. He's just like, no big deal. I'm dumb. Let's get back in the truck. We gotta go. It's like, has he done this before? No big deal. Street racing to this is a normal step.
NBD.
NBD.
So yeah, like Nick says, this is kind of where Hobbs gains respect from him. The crew meets back up at the garage there, and they're all like, "Oh, we gotta get out of here! We gotta get out of here!" And
Yeah.
Dom's like, "You guys can all go, but Reyes can't get away with this here." And
Because what does he say he can't get away with? Why does he say that?
money ain't freedom, or no?
Vince.
Go ahead.
For his honor. I don't know. Remember?
I don't remember. Yeah.
Because Vince dies.
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
That's
And
the turning point.
That's the end of the Vince thread. We don't. That is the end of the Vince thread. Again,
It is just
he
kind
could
of
not
left out
have-
in the open.
You know,
He
if
could-
Brian was still a cop, he could have called him in a helicopter like last time.
It's true. That's kind of the turning point too at the end of that scene is that Vince we see has taken the lethal shot in the gut and he's got the squinty eyes talking slow. It's like, oh no, the death throes. And Vince says, please take care of my son. We named him Nico after you, Dominic. So it was like this character who's just kind of been aloof on the periphery is suddenly like has the heartstring main throw through Dom that like we were always close family and you were like my best friend growing up since high school. So now he's gonna take Reyes to town. Sorry, go ahead, Tyler. That was what I was gonna say. Or Gary's got something.
Gary.
I was gonna ask, do you feel that Vince gets a equal cut, or does he just get like a bag of cash in the end? That was
He gets
something
a-
I thought about in the end. Does he
Yep.
get like a 1/8 cut, or does he get like, here's a couple bags of cash for our friend that died?
I think he gets a
The only-
good cut of the money there, knowing Dom being a somewhat honorable person in the thievery.
Be free.
But I just assumed in my first watch that he got an equal cut, and then on this watch I was like, probably just gave them a bag of cash. Like
$1
he
million.
didn't actually
$1
do
million
anything,
is
but he
$1 million.
died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like $2 million to an industrialized nation is $2 million. $2 million to a poor woman living as a single mom in the favela. That's that's a ton of money.
Chunk of change.
The only cut that Vince got was cut down. Am I right?
A
Hey. Anyway, we can move forward.
Please.
Got to talk about. Are we getting to the vault heist yet?
We haven't even
Yes.
gotten to the flying vault yet.
Well, I mean, we're basically there.
yeah, it guns right to it. It just The Rock decides I'm in, and it's like the meme of the one quiet guy goes, "I'm in, I'll do it," and then everyone else is like, "I'm in too." Fine, yes, and it's like we just get that thing going on, and so
Mm-hmm.
cut to the what's the vehicle called, Gary?
A Gurkha. It
A
apparently is
Gurkha.
built on an F550 chassis, and then this company must just put so which is a 1-ton vehicle, and then whatever company that makes this puts another ton of armor plating on the outside of it.
So it cuts to the Gurkha apparently ramming through solid concrete car stops.
And there's no spike strips between, like, there's just like a wussy wooden arm keeping people out, and then like no spike strips, no anything. Like,
It's a police station. No one's crazy enough to attack a police station.
It's meant to keep things in, Gary, not out.
Oh, okay.
I'll back.
But I agree with you. It doesn't make sense how how it gets in there and then just busts through the wall, busts through the everything, and then guys, can two
Now-
Dodge Chargers
Now you
pull
get to complain about the physics.
20,000 pounds across the ground?
Also,
got-
these are
got Nas.
supposed.
At that speed, could it pull it and be like just squealing tires the whole way? That seems more plausible. To like get up the momentum and continue it to just drive without suddenly, hey, by the way, I'm out of gas because like I've been giving my engine everything it has for the last 5 hours of this movie, apparently.
Also, apparently, these are the police Dodge Chargers that have been modified, and they put this like extra chassis bar on the back of it to expand the weight and put a lot of weight on the back end of the. And based on the director's commentary, he's like, I mean, it's a heavy car in the back. Like, this is the kind of car you'd need. I'm like, I don't think so, but sure. I put in my notes that like it's a little crazy, but the one step too far is on the bridge because it's not two cars pulling a safe, it's one car pulling a safe into oncoming traffic and not like all of this into oncoming traffic, and this didn't even slow anything down.
And they maneuver a few times too. They turn around and they do things, and they lose all the momentum from their pulling this thing.
On the bridge, though, Gary, remember that's when Dom flips the NOS.
Yes.
NOS makes
And
him
Nas
happy.
can do anything.
Exactly.
Yes. And the limited amount of NOS in this movie at the exact climax.
So I will come out and say I totally agree with everyone's thought and stuff like that, that this is absolutely ridiculous that these two cars are pulling this safe around Brazil like this. But I fucking love it because it is just peak what this movie series kind of is to me, of just insane action that, again, if you're sitting there looking for logic in these movies, you are absolutely looking at the wrong movies here. I don't even know who's... Amanda, you have less fingers up than anyone else.
Oh, I mean, I was basically going to agree because I've been really enjoying these as we go. I've set my expectations to not that there is going to be some ridiculous car chases, that there are going to be some deviations from physics, but I was enjoying the chase the entire time, like waiting to see what was going to happen next. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, analyzing it, anybody with a high school level understanding of physics would be like, hold on a second. But no, I mean, you just go along with it. It's definitely entertaining. Again, that balance of heist has gone down now because we've already got, I'm towing a giant sledgehammer behind me. Okay, sure. The action level jumps up, and this is 1,000% an action movie, more so than a heist movie by that point in it. Does it make
Nick
it
says
stupid?
high school level? Like, I'm pretty sure that you could ask an elementary school kid, like, can this truck... Well, my daddy's truck could move that safe or something like that. The background of the behind the scenes was like the safe rolling is like a safe on 2 pivot points, and I don't know, just the director being like, I just want it to roll, like, and,
I think it's
and they were like,
isn't it like basically just a safe up on like there's rollers underneath it or something like that to kind of, or wheels or something like that?
I think there's a pivot point on each end of it. And so literally they'd like drag it and on a flat piece, and then it like catches on the ground, and then it's supported enough to roll on an axis. But yeah. And they also had to like confirm ahead of time because they're in an actual city that needs to function. They needed to confirm ahead of time what they were going to destroy. Like, they were going to destroy this bus stop. Like, you need to tell the city, we're going to destroy this bus stop for you. Like, and they have to pay. They can't destroy stuff unplanned. Also, in the behind the scenes, you find out that the safe is a drivable vehicle. Like, it is a truck that they cut off the back bumper, and some stunt guy has to sit in a giant steel container in like the middle of a sunny day. And I think they said how much it was like hot enough to cook a turkey inside this giant steel box. And yeah, he's just driving around.
Holy crap, Gary's right. I was just looking that up to see if I could find some sort of like a prop thing of how that rotated. And yeah, there's the pictures right there. It's pretty interesting.
Yes. So yes, it completely defies logic, but it's just fun. If you just take it as fun, like it's fun. Also, behind the scenes, apparently the director's son is in this in some part of the vault chase. And he's like, I didn't want to put my kid in a movie, but apparently such shitty experiences with Vince's kid in the movie that they had to recast Vince's kid as 3 different children. That he was like, oh, well, my kid will not cry when I need him to be an actor. And then he apparently was distracted by an extra. So, but yeah, the director's kid is in the movie. Any other notes on the chase?
I'll note at the end of the chase, it ends very, very, very anticlimactically, and it kind of brings it back to me that this series has had one really cool bad guy, like super high level bad guy in it, and that is the Yakuza boss. He is the only guy so far who has had the cojones and the gravitas. Every other super bad guy boss kind of really sucks. Last movie's the last movie's lieutenant bad guy was actually really, really cool, but even the lieutenant bad guy in this one just is boring, and goes out like a bitch.
We don't know its name. We never remembered its name.
I did see it. It's ZZ. His name is ZZ or something like that.
ZZ.
But
wow.
What does it even matter? He doesn't do anything. He's just... These movies don't do bad guys really well. Tokyo Drift has been the only one so far, for me at least, that has had a cool and impactful bad guy that I could go, yeah, that'd be a guy to be afraid of. Otherwise, business.
I thought he was just kind of a spoiled brat. I didn't like him. I like the bad guy from I like Johnny Trans.
Johnny Tran.
Johnny Trans.
Did I mispronounce his name? I'm sorry.
I'm just shaking my head at you just because.
Yeah, it's the choice, not because. Yeah, it's fine.
Ndoya Montana, folks.
Also on the bridge, Brian comes back, and he said he was like, "Oh, why'd you come back for me? I had to make a call." Well, and they seem to have that as a callback in this movie, and I was like, it's not that good of a line. I really thought it was deserved, but they attempted it.
Well, even Brian coming back is like he stealthily sneaks up behind Vince or Dom in this car that definitely is very loud, gets out, and is able to stand behind him and shoot the guy who's walking towards apparently both of them, ready to shoot at them, and he's already got his gun, or he basically draws a gun on him a lot quicker. So it's just like, it's one of those scenes again. It logically it doesn't make sense, but I don't care.
What did it just follow? Also, who's gonna pay attention to a guy driving a car? There's a guy who jumped a Dodge Charger into another vehicle while carrying a vault. Like, I think there's some stuff going on. Yeah.
I wrote down a note like Hobbs somehow finds them on the bridge, but now I'm thinking about it more of like, well, they did leave a trail of carnage and destruction there,
right.
So it makes sense that Hobbs found them.
Yeah,
and
so
the last time you
how
see
many
Hobbs
people...
is at the police station, right?
Yes.
Yes. How many people do we think died?
Yeah.
0, right?
There's a lot.
I wrote down so many, and then air quotes around the word cops are killed or injured during this whole chase scene
Yes,
there.
for sure. Like, and then I was sitting there watching it, trying to be like, reason, like, okay, well, they did reason that it was the corrupt cops, but I was like, he still killed all of them, like all of their family, and I'm like, I don't know,
And you
because
rolled
sometimes,
a vault through a bank and all these other businesses.
yeah,
and a
with
bus
they're
stop
definitely
and-
not the corrupt people.
There,
Yeah.
there's got to be at least a couple random, maybe say Jose's, who are just the police. But hey, my lieutenant's corrupt, and he's telling me I got to do this, or I'm going to lose my job, and I'm just a poor guy from the favelas. This is the only career I know. I'm just going to go along with it and be a random henchman. And oh crap, there's a vault. Bam, dead.
I didn't get paid enough for this shit.
Right. I mean,
That is
also,
something. They were all. I was gonna say all the policemen were really, really motivated to get that vault, even while
Right.
seeing everyone get the absolute
They
living
were.
crap blown out of them.
I mean, you see a lot of cop cars get smashed and things go flying, but I would wager a good number of like random people on the sidewalk like probably got smashed by some of the debris. There was one spot where a tree flew through the vault, flew through a tree, and just like
Ugh.
shards of bark went flying everywhere. Someone got skewered.
Yeah, it's definitely carnage is unleashed upon the city for sure. And then we try. Oh, go ahead, Amanda.
I mean, it jumps ahead a little bit, but at the end, when The Rock lets him go, he's like, I can't let you go. I can give you a day or 24 hours. And I'm like, this city has been wrecked. Invasions have caused less damage than what has just happened and fewer deaths. And he's like, yeah, I can get you to go for 24 hours. I was like, are you kidding me? This city's going to want you hung for doing such a bad job catching these guys.
Mm-hmm. But then Hobbs
And there's going to be a giant power vacuum. Like, imagine, like...
A huge power vacuum. The police, I mean, how much is that going to affect for that? Not to mention the fact that now you've turned that one guy into a martyr, so who's going to come in there? Because people liked him because he gave them stuff.
So yes, the number one drug boss, dead. Lieutenant, dead. Police department, ravaged. Like...
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Yeah, it's fine.
And then
It's fine.
Hobb learns the secret there that the vault that they were towing there at the end was really empty all along.
Yeah.
Because they switched it out. They pulled a switcheroo on you.
And that also
on the
confused me a little
rewatch-
bit.
Go ahead.
Like,
Amanda.
At one point, when they're realizing there's too many cops, and she's like, Mia's like, just leave the vault. And I'm like, what did you just fight that for? Because it was literally the empty one. Am I missing something here?
Nope. There's a spot where they had they claimed 10 seconds. It had to have taken more than 10
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah.
But they had that gap
They
between.
switched them.
And they switched them.
But they were on the bridge with the empty one by that point.
Yep.
And they're freaking out because there's too many cops. And Mia's like, just leave the vault. And they were like, no. But I'm like, but it's the empty one. Like, what's the problem? I mean, do you think there's still... I guess I don't quite get it at that point.
Maybe it's...
Does Brian not know that there's, like, somebody... Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Or maybe they're just trying to say,
agree.
like... You could theorize it of, like, they're just yelling that over the air in case people are listening in to the radio waves
that
and stuff,
could be.
too.
Could be.
Because I guess maybe, too, they're still trying... They have to convince Hobbs, too. He's not in on the whole switcheroo part of the whole plan.
That's true.
Also, in that part, apparently they're pushing a vault with a garbage truck too. Like, I could maybe understand if it was on forks or something where you could push it and not be like pushing yeah. And some of that was like, oh well, if it's a light pinball, but a lot of the crazy crap happens before they switch the vault.
Yeah.
I have a question on that too. Like just the way you said that about the switching made my head again. It doesn't take away from the movie for me. It just adds to like the what kind of a thought. but I was really curious about how do you switch that from the garbage truck to the other vehicles? Because at some point you have to, like, it showed the two brothers, right, the comic relief brothers, on the back of the dump truck with, forgive me, like a carabiner clip off and rehook. So at some point, a man is holding the 20,000 pound ton vault with their hand
Yeah,
in
of
the
course.
clip. At some point, you have to unhook something to something else, right? If it's all hydraulic, sure, go nuts. But at some point, like if you're going click, then as soon as you unhook, if you could maneuver that with getting slack somehow from towing this, you would go and yank your arm off the back of the dump truck. It's
Mhm.
interesting. Things that happen in like a split second, but analyzing, like I said, frame by frame, you're kind of like, wait a minute.
Yep. But the vault ends up giving up its payday to Ludacris there. He's able to break her.
Oh,
And
it's good stuff.
cash comes pouring out. And then that musical montage happens there at the end of
Danza Kuduro.
Which also happens in Ocean's 11.
sure.
That
yeah.
is true.
It's been forever since I've seen Ocean's 11, so
Oh, you're
But-
missing out.
I've got other movies to watch.
Oh, okay, Steven.
I'm not saying anything
Do the
negative against
sequels
Ocean's
to
11.
Ocean's
but
11 live up to the original Ocean's 11?
No, Ocean's 11 sucks, and Ocean's 13 is pretty good.
11?
Oh, I'm sorry,
12
Ocean
is what
11
you
is
mean.
good. 12, 13 is pretty.
I can get on board with that. I've seen those as well.
But yeah, I just like this montage at the end, basically of just seeing the crew, what they're doing to go out and spend their money. The two brothers go out and bet money at the
Everything.
they bet everything at the, is it roulette table?
Yep.
Is that
Yeah,
what the
roulette.
game's called? Yeah.
Because
And
they
it
say
lands on
you
green.
can't. Yeah, they say you can't put $10 million on. Like, that's everything, isn't it?
Yep.
And the other one
Yeah.
says,
It should be.
and the other one goes, no, you don't bet it on red, you bet it on black. And he bets his 10. That's all their money. If they get, whatever it is, 10 million, whatever.
How are we supposed to have another movie if they don't have the money?
The director
They'll have to
says
do another
like it's
heist.
because they don't value money. Like it wasn't about the money for them. So that's why they can just bet it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well-
like, yeah, Ludacris wants to open a shop, and the other two are just like doing whatever with it.
It's all about the money,
So-
though, for Roman, because he comes
Yeah.
dressed up in a ridiculous looking suit.
That's his character, kind of.
Yes, but that's Roman.
So again, this is actually pretty funny that we keep tying these two movies together. But in Ocean's 12, the follow-up to Ocean's 11, when I forget his character's name, when Al Pacino, I forget who it is, but the main guy who gets robbed from the casino tracks down each of the 11 people who worked for Ocean.
Andy
Andy
Garcia.
Andy Garcia, thank you. Doesn't he find that, like, is it Rusty has spent all the money for one of
Yep.
them? Yeah, he's like, I want my money back from me. He's like, I spent it. It's gone. Like, I was a millionaire and it's gone. So it's funny that in that scene, yeah, it's like these two guys bet all their money. It wasn't about the money. It was just that see if they could do it.
I will say, going into the next scene with the two supercars that oh wow, one of them has a supercar. Now there's two supercars. Two of the things I noticed immediately here are, number one, they're in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
They are wanted men, apparently. I don't know how they got back to the United States, but they're back in the United States. The car that Roman drives up has a Georgia license plate on it. So it is from Georgia that he got it, where their garage is, but it's from Georgia. And in the background, as he drives up, there is a billboard for going to vacation in Goa, which was one of the
Ah.
places that Brian mentioned.
That's solid. Good observation.
I don't know what kind of vehicle that is. But apparently it is actually those vehicles were one of 4 that exists in the US, like in the world. So whatever kind of vehicle that was.
I'm trying to see. I want to say
Anyway,
they're Ferraris or they're Porsches.
In the director's commentary, he talks about like, yeah, they had to secure people that are willing to loan their vehicles to the production. And apparently one of the models that was sitting in the front seat was like asked for an orange juice and like was drinking orange juice in the front of this, like very, very one of a kind car. And all the handlers were like, yeah, we don't want her to spill. Please don't.
Fair.
Yikes.
Not
And
the
then-
car for it.
Yeah.
But unless we have a different note on that, then we cut over to
Han and
the
Giselle
next.
in,
Yeah.
on the Autobahn.
On the Autobahn in Germany, they are specifically, and I will bring this up in a little bit, they are specifically going to Berlin.
Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
And they are not at all paying attention to the road.
No,
No.
She is not
doing other
strapped in.
things.
She needs
And
a
we will
seatbelt.
get, like, are we going to Tokyo? No, we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Wink to the audience there.
Yeah, I
feel-
was totally judging it.
I feel like it's this. So are we going to go back and explain Tokyo? We'll get there.
Yep.
Please. Plot hole.
All right, Steven, let me guess. Berlin will extradite people to the U.S. there if they're wanted terrorists.
No, actually, Germany will not extradite to the United States because the United States has a death penalty. That is, there's something else about that I will bring up after. It's from the post-credit scene, actually.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And then the final unless somebody else had something more on just that random. Gary?
Dom has a new Dodge Charger, which it's just supposedly the running joke is that Charger that Dom has is the same one from the first movie, but now he's escaped and he has a different Dodge Charger that I don't think that one ever shows up again. But anyway, I just thought that was after knowing that Dodge had product placement in this movie, it's like,
Actually-
oh yeah, like
You're wrong. It's a Dodge Challenger. It's not a Charger.
Ooh.
such
Gonna
an
get so
idiot. I'm
roasted.
sorry. I
Get
apologize
so
to
roasted in our
everyone.
comments.
Yeah, who knew that? Anyway.
The car guy who watches or listens to this podcast, please write in. Let Gary know he's wrong.
Thank you. Another random director note was that the police lady in this movie, in real life, she's married to Chris Hemsworth.
Yep.
Yes, the director talks about shooting in Puerto Rico and then just having Thor walking around on set. It's like just Thor is just walking around in the background of your movie. Like,
Assume
okay,
that's
cool.
actually not
Oh, that's
very-
what I knew her name from.
I would assume that's not very uncommon for, movie directors to have movie stars walking around.
But
It's
he's a
Thor's too,
different
it's different.
class. He's a little bit different. I mean, Vin Diesel is like a big movie star in this age, but like Paul Walker sort of.
But yeah, I think this is just
Everyone
when those
else
Marvel
is-
movies are starting to hit real big.
Yeah. Like I don't know how many Thors. We might be at the second Thor movie by this point. I'm not sure.
I'm almost thinking we might be at an Avengers movie by this point.
Well, I think the second Thor movie takes place after the Avengers movie. But anyway,
Nope.
Yeah.
We then
Second-
move on to the tropical beach setting, though.
Yep. Which is what we were talking about.
And-
there, yeah.
They do not specify where this is. I choose to believe it is Goa because the billboard that they had for the ad for Goa, it looks exactly like the beach that they're at here. So I think that's a hint that it's in Goa, which has an extradition treaty with the United States. Anyways, so they're getting extradited, and the baby's gonna be born in prison. Have fun. But yeah. Mia, this is obviously a couple months down the line because Mia's super pregnant.
Mm-hmm. Is she allowed to walk on the beach when she's pregnant? Isn't that too much for her delicate?
probably glass everywhere.
But yeah, I
Uh,
think they lead up to one final race between Paul Walker
Mhm.
and Vin Diesel here.
And
Again, I have to say, Terrible Brian is not a good racer. Like
They
when
don't
they
show
finish,
it.
they don't really show it. No, it's the weird like digital car race again. But like when they raced with the squad cars and they finished, everybody says he didn't see it, he didn't recognize it. That Dom let him win, and Brian just assumes he won because he finished. Like he's not perceptive enough to realize that he was let win, or he was given that win. I think he's a terrible driver.
There's a race in the post credits, in the credits. I didn't even catch that. I just saw like cars driving, and I was like, then there was
It's their
names.
two
I didn't
cars.
catch. I did not
It's their-
catch that.
yep.
It's meant to be like it's their two cars racing to see who's the quicker.
It robs us of another race.
Yeah.
Why would we show a race in this movie?
That's fair.
They've evolved past this.
Also, in the director's commentary, he talks about how he assumed Fast and the Furious 4 was going to be the beginning of a new trilogy because 1, 2, and 3 are kind of different. And when he took on 4, obviously he did Tokyo Drift, he did 4, and now he did 5. He did not plan on directing 5. But when he did the press tour, he was like, "Oh, people actually like this movie. Maybe I got another one in the tank." But he already planned on 3 movies, so like the last one paid off the possibility of Dom being broken out, and this one pays off for something else. But that's what he talked about in the commentary, is that he didn't think that he was going to direct this movie or the next movie, but he wanted to set up some open-endedness to it. And obviously, Tyler just pointed out that this is in the age of Avengers. And so I'm pretty sure Avengers was a known quantity that was in the pipeline. So
Yeah, and then after these early credits here, we get to the post-credit scene where we get The Rock is sitting in his office, probably filing paperwork or whatever, and then Eva Mendes shows up. You already have
Time
some...
Too Fast, Too Furious,
Yes, Eva Mendes from Too Fast, Too Furious. Her character shows up.
who works for the FBI.
Isn't it she with Customs? I'm pretty sure it was like Customs or... But
It was U.S.
shit.
Customs.
anyways, she shows up to show a file to Hobbs and tells him to really look at it, and surprise, surprise, there's a picture of one Letty Ortiz still alive.
I knew it.
Dun.
You believe in ghosts?
What country is she in again? She in Moscow, right?
Doesn't
I
say.
think
Oh,
they said
oh.
Berlin, so
No,
Germany.
This
It
is what
does say.
Steven's getting
Yep.
towards.
Berlin.
It says, yeah, they are in Berlin. Where was, and that's, so my thought is, where was Han going? Han was going to Berlin. And so I feel like there's going to be some sort of tie-in there. Obviously, I have never seen these next couple movies, so this is just my assumption.
Okay.
And-
So, anything else before we go into the final wrap-ups of characters, places, things, rankings?
Yeah, that is the end of the fifth Fast and Furious movie there. So, Gary, turn it over to you for all of your random questions you like to ask at the end of these.
I've already I should write these down somewhere.
I mean, they're definitely not probably in this Watchcast. Oh, no, your Watchcast questions one is now filled with all your stuff here. Well,
all the other stuff. Okay, so
it's up there from March 18th.
Nick, I don't even have a question. What is your answer?
I just have a point of clarification. Did we get through an entire podcast without a single conspiracy theory?
I was just like because I thought I was about to say conspiracy theory. No, we haven't had any. That's never happened to us before.
It's never happened to me before.
We're completely out of conspiracy theories.
I don't know what to do with my
throwing it out
hands.
there. Throwing it out there.
The tank is empty.
Entire movie
That
was
is a conspiracy.
theory.
Yeah, this guy's movie is too ridiculous. Like, we already got into the things Steven thought was ridiculous in the opening, like, heists. Like, we couldn't go anywhere from here. Anyway, how would people rank this movie? Rate it out of bananas, out of whatever.
I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie for what it is. I had a lot of issues with it. Would I watch it again freely? I don't know. If I was eating a hamburger at a restaurant and it was on, sure, I'd watch it. So I will give it 7 out of 13 hamburgers.
7 out of 13 hamburgers. Got it. Amanda, how many whatever increment are you gonna vote with?
I actually enjoyed this a lot. I'd put this one at the top of my list so far of the Fast and Furious movies that we've watched. I will rate it 1 blue Porsche.
Blue Porsche. Ooh. Nick?
Oh, not the big stuff. I will give it 3 volts. I would put
What
it
is your unit of measure?
vault. Vaults that the total.
Volts, 3 volts.
3 volts.
Okay, got it. I will do
I'd put it at the top. I'm with Gary. I still will die on the hill that I think 2 doesn't get the credit it deserves. It is hot garbage, but it leans heavily in knowing that it's hot garbage, which just makes it fun for me. So I put 2 towards the top, but this was number 5 so far is my favorite.
I would put this one at number top, but also if you tie a string from this one to 2, the things that are funny and good in this movie are like, I think Tej and Roman. I think Tej and Roman are good, and I think they bring up this movie. Tweedledee and Tweedledum just kind of let it hover, like they didn't really add or subtract. They just kind of were background characters. So that's why I always bring 2 up, is because I feel like this movie and from here on, like those 2 elevate this movie, and by extension, if they're not introduced, these movies probably aren't as good. I will give this 8.75 out of 10.
So
not a full
specific.
9er.
So specific.
But pretty good. Tyler, you're usually last. Also, we haven't asked what IMDb thinks of these movies.
I don't think we've ever asked what IMDb thinks about these movies.
I did see
I don't really care.
Well, I did see one piece of relevant information here. This was the first Fast and Furious movie to get a positive review on Rotten Tomatoes. Is what I saw.
All right, so here is my review from back in 2015. 4 out of 5 stars. This is possibly my favorite movie of the series. So much action. From the start of driving that Corvette into the watery basin all the way to the end of destroying cop cars while dragging a big safe, this movie is just a fun time. Throw in the rock and you're gonna have a good time. And as I said last time here, this is my favorite movie of the entire series. So that's the one ranking I'm going to reveal before the end. That this is number 1
It's
with a
all
bullet.
Downhill from here. All downhill.
Not even close, but
For Tyler.
I mean,
Yeah.
we already got 2 out of the way, so I mean it's gone up from there.
Ouch. Shots fired.
I'm trying to decide which one I think would be my favorite at this point in time. And I think it still is Tokyo Drift.
It's just the song, right? You just love that Tokyo song.
Oh, yeah, it's just a song. I just didn't, I don't know. Again, childhood stuff, so I remember that from my high school English class where I didn't learn any English. But this is still pretty well up there. Like, this is not a movie. If I saw this on TV, as I was passing through the channels, I might stay on that channel. I'm not gonna immediately just go, nope, next.
It fills the time. Do you feel? I think that Tej and Roman elevate this movie. Do you feel like Han from 3 or Giselle from 4 or Tweedledee and Tweedledum elevate this movie?
I think Han elevates the movie. I'm not sure Tweedledee Tweedledum elevate the movie too much. I think Giselle adds something to it. But I also think that just they work with Brian and with Dom in a better way. I think I think their characters are more fun to watch in this than in some of the others. I think 4 was still pretty good, but for me at least, I think most of the characters did a pretty good job. The negative on the characters here isn't the good guy characters, except for and I can't remember his name again. The guy who I think could have been just scalpeled out of this movie.
Vince?
Vince, except for Vince is pointless. I don't see why he's here.
Vince doesn't bring up the movie from you.
No,
You
Vince does
deduct
not.
points from 1 because of how much Vince drags down this movie.
Yes. But I also think that if they had a good villain, an actual good villain that had some, I don't know, say Joker qualities or something like that, but bring the villain to life and actually make the villain important and powerful, that would elevate the movie. And it does not do that. You don't have that anti to play off of.
Okay, so that was ranking. I think it was characters you would like to see more of, characters you like to see less of, and characters you expect to see again. Start with Steven or Amanda, who don't know what happens next.
I really liked Han in this one a lot. I am confused as hell where the hell he's going, but I did appreciate that very cryptic, we'll get there when we get there. We got time, or whatever they said. I enjoyed Han a lot in this one. Yeah. Steven?
I like Han. I really just enjoy his character. I enjoy the low intensity that he brings. It's a good intensity, but it's a low intensity of just chill, cool to this movie. We talked about the 2 characters that I think I don't necessarily like, and that's Vince and the bad guys. And not necessarily even because I think they're horrible people and whatnot, just they don't add anything to the movie. And then who do I think I'm going to see more of? I'm assuming I'm going to see more Han. I know I'm going to see more Dom, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to see more Paul Walker.
That's a bold choice there, Steven.
Right?
Okay, Nick or Tyler, who is your least favorite or most favorite character, and has that changed since the rewatch?
Do you have one, Nick?
From what I remembered, there were parts in this movie that I did not recall until I rewatched and was like, oh, that happens in this movie. Oh, that's an interesting interaction. I think the character that I would like to see more of from this movie going forward is probably more about Brian's character. Like, he's in uncharted territory. He actually has a little bit of breathing room. He's got a wife and a child on the way. Like, what's next for him? Because he's always just kind of been his own street racing kid trying to get a career. Now he's got beachfront property and, $10 million. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens next for him.
He actually has more because he won $4 million in a street race.
Right. And legit, I don't recall off the top of my head what comes next. I remember the skeleton of these stories, but all the little nuances are lost on me. So I'd like to see more of Brian. The character that I could probably do without is probably also Vince. I think that I was aware of his story start and end from this movie, but like rewatching it, yeah, I think that Steven and Amanda kind of highlighted there's not a lot to it in this story. And so obviously he's gone from what we see at the end of this movie, but I don't think that there's more I would have liked from him thus far in the series. So with what we see, I think I'm good with where he's stopped.
Tyler, favorite, least favorite?
So my favorite continues to be Brian here. I like the journey he's going on and everything like that. I mean, if you're going to ask me what I remember from comparing before rewatching to now, I couldn't honestly tell you because I wasn't thinking about the movies that way at the time. Least favorite would be, I don't know. Like I don't have the problem with Vince's story that you guys kind of do. I kind of somewhat understand what they were trying to do with it. Wish it would have been done better though. I completely agree with that. Reyes wasn't the strongest villain either because like he wasn't really on screen all that much, being menacing all that well. And then the two brothers, their characters really needed more work in the movie. It felt like the cast ensemble was just slightly too big for this type of movie that they were trying to do.
I would say my favorite character is probably The Rock because he's new and he's shiny and he's glistening. And then I don't know. I don't want to hate on Vince, but I still hate those two, Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I just don't like them. As Tyler said, like there's too many people in the ensemble that I think you could have survived without them or combine them into one person and it'd have been okay. Yeah. I added some bonus questions as I was thinking about it, and I mentioned earlier the bingo card. Things we think should be removed from the bingo card and things we think should be added to the bingo card for next time. Any high runners?
I appreciate that you guys are doing the bingo card. I didn't look at the bingo card at all for this movie.
I would have loved to have added the bingo card. That sounds like fun. I did not catch that. Those of you on the podcast, I am probably the least techie person here in the bunch.
I was gonna say,
Who would have
Amanda
guessed?
made the bingo cards for us. Amanda, what was the actual like? We when we were talking about it, we had some ideas to add on to there. What were they again?
I do not remember. Like I wrote down the ones that we had, and Gary had started a list of ideas to add on there, and then I sat there thinking of everything that I was associating as common with every Fast and Furious movie I saw. Like
I mean,
I designed
obviously,
it to be one.
explosions.
Oh,
Explosions
family.
have
Yeah,
to
you to have
stay.
family.
Oh, family and explosions.
Yeah, like I designed it to be one. Nothing on there was not realistic. But see,
Mass murder.
explosion, mass murder
And-
was not on there.
Shootouts.
But
Yeah,
if you guys
and
want to
as
send
I
me some
looked-
more, I can make another set, or I can update them and add a few more things on there for the next time if you guys want. And if you're not, that's entirely fine too.
And I
You ha-
enjoyed the bingo card because I knew that like this was kind of the shift to like a not racing movie, and there was lots of like very racing like very Fast and Furious 1, like cars with speakers, cars with like NOS, like winning a race at the last second. Like that did not happen in this movie. So
Like
yeah.
bad guy's girlfriend turns out to be on the good guy's side. That should have been a given. It has been so far in every movie. Didn't get.
Did I not? Is that on the other bingo card? Oh, that's on the
Yeah, I
bingo
made
card.
two
I didn't
different
even
ones.
play.
I made 2 different ones in case you guys. Otherwise, we would have all gotten the same bingos.
I intended to play the other bingo card on the second watch through, and I didn't. I apologize.
I saw one of the squares when I glanced at it just now had highlighted unrealistic vehicles. Does that include like the Gurkha and like the vehicles that are just larger than
Yeah.
life? They fall
It
in
is
that
up to
category?
your interpretation, but yes.
I'm looking at the other bingo card. Girls kissing. I don't think we got either.
No, we didn't.
We did get a fist fight. We did get a fist
I
fight.
did get it.
What about macho stare down? Can we add that?
I put intense looking at each other from different cars.
I think just intense looking.
Intense
Because
looking.
I kept
stare.
calling it a smolder, like they were smoldering at each
Ooh.
other, using Paul Walker's eyes and
Macho smolder.
macho
Anyway,
smolder.
I'm excited for another bingo card, and obviously we've got Nick on the bingo card wagon, and so it is going to be good.
Got
And
it.
I was even more excited to like get a time of when I got the bingo to see if someone else could beat me and get the bingo faster on the same card for things I missed. But anyway, listeners, you can also be excited about this bingo card. And if you ask, I'm sure Tyler could share you a bingo card.
Yes, right to the podcast or leave a comment.
Right to the podcast.
We'll figure out something.
In the comments, say, I want bingo cards.
Mm-hmm. You can have anything you want as long as it's a bingo.
There we go.
Yes.
Tyler will create a QR code and post it on the podcast site.
No.
It will
don't
lead
have
you
that
Amanda, my
down
one
the-
piece of feedback should be that the free space should just be explosions.
Okay.
Explosions should be the free space.
picture of the Charger or Dom's head.
Intense Dominic Toretto stare down.
Shirtless dude.
Mm.
Who's
Are we getting shirtless dudes this movie? I don't remember.
Just a
I mean,
square.
there's a bunch of people in Brazil and part of the favela gang. I'm sure some of those guys didn't have shirts on.
Anyway, I'm excited. I don't know why I said that right after shirtless guys. That did not come off right.
We all know.
Gary, you don't have to justify yourself. We're accepting here.
The truth comes out.
Phrasing.
Yes.
On that note, happy Pride Month, everybody.
Yeah.
Happy Pride Month.
Yeah.
Oh, for
Do we have any
Steven,
other
we'll
notes?
for Steven, we'll add something about physics is completely disregarded.
Yeah,
works.
exactly.
Laws of physics and nature. That should be two different ones. Laws of physics disregarded, laws of nature disregarded.
Yeah.
And just to remind everybody here, we do have a channel for bingo items, so you're welcome to throw whatever you want in there.
Mhm.
Tyler really bent to our will of more independent channels for this podcast. I managed to squeeze out a conspiracy theory channel that did not get used this episode.
I am
of
shocked.
bingo items.
No, that's conspiracy theories. That was me putting that there before we even started the podcast, because it's like, if we're gonna make Gary document all of his conspiracy theories, so then we can go back and go, this is the dumbest one out of all of them.
And I haven't had any. I will try harder next time, listener, to get some conspiracy.
Listener.
What I don't know what I could have pulled out of this one. This one, it jumped the shark a little bit too much.
No,
It's
you're
too
using that
perfect.
phrase wrong. It's too perfect. It didn't jump some shark.
It jumped a little bit.
It's
If it didn't jump the shark, it's definitely got a tank and is adding water to it with a garden hose.
it's boosting down a ramp with NOS activated full throttle there.
Sharks with laser beams attached to their head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else we would like to discuss at the end of this podcast about Fast Five? Shaking heads.
I don't think
no.
so. It's been a time.
It was fun.
Good. All right, so that means up for next time we will be watching Fast and Furious 6. The naming conventions is just still weird.
I was just saying, you said that, and I was like, is that what it's called, or is it like some weird version of the
Nope.
words Fast and Furious?
It's Fast and Furious 6.
I think on my version of Amazon Prime, it's in Spanish and it's called something else. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right.
until
well,
next time.
Yeah, that'll do it for us here, ladies and gentlemen, or lady and gentlemen listening. We want to thank everybody. We hope you have a good one. Until next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ooh.